Oh, I pulled up Twitter. It's not on Twitter for some reason.
Why is it not on Twitter? I checked that one off. We need X Premium to stream on Twitter. Okay, so I guess we're switching that one to
You have to pay for Twitter.
Twitch. Or maybe not. Okay, we can do Twitch. We could maybe do full press hockey, but we're only doing a little hockey, so I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well just do YouTube and Twitch today. Let's just go to full press YouTube, share that. Whoever's watching right now, we're doing things a little differently this week, so bear with us. Just get this shared out on the YouTube. Yep, it's on YouTube, so that's good. That's dandy. Bear with us here, folks. Tweet this out on the Salvaggio and Cratty page. It's a funny little intro, guys. Just bear with us here. Okay, let's tweet that out. All right. A little bit of an unorthodox start to the stream, but we are streaming. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 209 of Salvaggio and Cratty. Back for you here again on Wednesday, October 2nd, 8:04 p.m. Sorry for the delay. Had some stuff to sort out on the back end, but we're here a little bit later than usual, but maybe for the night owls, that'll be good. Give them something else to watch if they watch to the late hours of the end of the live stream. But Pats and 49ers, NFL stuff, Jeremy Swayman stuff, and a little bit of Red Sox. Let's just get into it since we're a little bit behind schedule. Ryan, how are you?
Good to be back. Like we need like a Stu Feiner, like back type of thing. So how excited that we are to be back.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Let's just get right into it. Studs and duds. They lost 30-13, so it's a little harder to find studs in a game like that against a good team. But things are crumbling, and yeah, it looked bad in San Francisco. So let's get to it. Let's start with you as usual with the studs category.
Yeah, I can't believe there's some dumb people that thought maybe we would have a football season this year. I don't know who on this show said that, but whoever that was, dumb
Yeah.
idiot there. Excluding that though, yeah, studs and duds, as you said, got to be a little tough to find studs, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But that's where I'm starting. I'm gonna go with Dietrich Wise. Watching the game, it seemed like Wise was in the backfield a lot. Had a pretty good game. 6 tackles, 1 sack, a tackle for a loss, a quarterback hit. And a pass deflection as well. 44 snaps played, 70%. Again, wasn't many bright spots in the defense. Dietrich Wise was good. He's going to need to be because, like you said, this team is getting more and more banged up as the weeks go on. He's going to be one of the veteran guys that is looked to week after week, and he's been able to prove himself as we've come to know with Dietrich Wise over the years.
Yeah, he was good. He had one big play early. I think he might have had that sack early. And yeah, he'll take what you can get from your leaders because your leaders are your big guys at this point because you don't have a lot else. So good to see what we saw from Dietrich Wise, even in a losing effort. My number 3 stud was Joey Sly. Made Patriots history and has looked pretty good since he won the job from Chad Ryland. Um, and yeah, they didn't score a lot of points, and he was part of the reason they scored some.
Mhm.
So good for Joey Sly. He's had a good start to his Patriots career, a journeyman kicker.
Yes, he has. I'm sticking with the special teams for my number two. Bryce Behringer, 4 punts, total of 196 yards, 49 on average, 45 on net. All 4 punts were within the 20-yard line for the San Francisco 49ers, and his longest, 61 yards. Not going to spend a lot of time on the punter, of course, but we're starting to notice a trend with this Patriots team. Once again, same as the last couple years, their best players might be the punter and the kicker, and that is not a way to have a successful football team, as we saw with your number three stud. Spoiler alert to my number one, it was also Joey Sly. We'll just get that out of the way now. Like you said, made history. To me, it's Nick Folk all over again. He's their best player. He's their most reliable player, being Joey Sly. And that's not a good thing. Like, I think I tweeted it out during the game on Sunday. It would be nice to know when the Patriots are going to realize that you cannot have the kicker and punter be the best players on your team, and try to win football games that way, because it's not the case, and it's not going to be the case ever in the NFL.
Yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate reality when you see things pan out the way they did this past week. That special teams is your best asset, essentially.
Mhm.
You did your top two. I'll do my top two now for studs. Jabril Peppers, namely because of the sack or the interception that looks like might have hurt him as he was dealing with some shoulder issues. I don't think he was at practice at all today. Had 3 tackles, 4 assisted tackles, and 7 combined interception and 2 pass deflections. Another, goes back to the whole leader thing on this team. You're gonna need your leaders and captains to be the big guys, especially when you lose one like David Andrews, who's out for the season now on the other side of the ball. And then you got Christian Gonzalez continuing to be Christian Gonzalez, 6 tackles on top of allowing only 1 catch on 4 targets for 10 yards allowed. He's now 7 for 17 with 41 yards allowed and a touchdown on the season. So continuing where he left off last year, and another one of the few bright spots. A guy that's not in that like leader category like a Wise or a Peppers, but will be soon at
I
this
can see him getting
trajectory.
there.
And
Yeah.
he is their best football player.
No, I says the kicker and the punter are
But
Christian Gonzalez.
realistically,
Yeah,
yes.
Christian
Jokes
Gonzalez is
aside,
that.
yes.
Mhm.
Jokes, but truth aside at the same
Mhm.
time.
Yeah,
Um,
a dark truth again.
yeah,
I'm
two
glad you had
sides.
Jabril. I'm glad you had Peppers, because I easily could have put him as my number three, but I kind of figured you were going to go that route and try to be a little different. Definitely would have had him as an honorable mention. To me, I feel like he's starting to take on that. You mentioned David Andrews' role. As we know, David Andrews last year was the guy we kind of felt sorry for. The veteran guy that's always going out there giving his all, and then was like the first guy up at the podium having to answer the questions of how bad the team is. Like, I feel like Jabril Peppers has been that guy this season. You feel bad for him because of the situation he's in. Great player. He goes out there, and I feel like he hasn't been healthy all season yet, and he's going out there and playing balls to the wall as he always has. And then has to kind of go up there and answer if what's the struggles. Obviously, you're getting the questions again this year of people trying to wonder if the defense is mad at the offense like it was last year, not being able to score. I think he was the one that basically said we have to go out and pitch a shutout every game. I think that was his comment last year. So it stinks. Again, guy that's playing his ass off, playing with the hair on, his hair on fire, and just the team is not able to back him up in any way.
No, it's bad. It's a bad time. It was a bad um way for things to unravel, and it's gonna get worse. So that's where we're at on the Patriots. Spoiler alert for the people. I won't spoil all three, but we have the same duds because the more and more I thought about it, I don't know if there was a different way to do it that made a whole lot of sense. So I think we might as well just operate in lockstep here.
Sure. I'll start with my number three. You can do number two, and then we can just jump in on number one. Not going to cheat to spoil anything and put an entire position in there. We've done that before, but I just don't think that's going to be the way we do it this time around. Starting with number three, if you watch the game, if you watch the last 4 games, it's obvious. Ramondre Stevenson, 13 rushes, 43 yards, an average of 3.3, 4 receptions, 5 targets, and 19 yards in the air. Fourth game, fourth fumble. Can't have it. Ramondre Stevenson, you are the entire offense. The offense quite literally and figuratively runs through you, or that's how the Patriots obviously want to play. And you just can't be so careless with the football. It's gotten to a point where it's a massive problem with him. And I was going to touch on Stevenson and kind of the talking points. And it is interesting. I saw reports today that the Patriots are thinking about benching him potentially, going with Antonio Gibson. And I was going to kind of ask you that, like, where you're at on him. Because as we know, running back is not a deep position right now. So I feel like you can bench Stevenson, but God forbid something happens to Antonio Gibson. Now you're relying on who? JaMychal Hasty? So like
Yeah.
again, it kind of falls back to poor roster construction for the people that obviously the talk over the last couple of weeks has been who do you blame for this mess? And a lot of people want to blame Elliott Wolf, and I think you rightfully can do with the roster construction because outside of those three guys, is it what? It's Kevin Harris on the practice squad, and that's it. So
Yeah.
like I don't know right now with how bad the offense has been if you can afford to. I can't imagine they're going to bench Stevenson for a game. You have to think
No.
maybe it's like a quarter or something, but I don't know if you can necessarily get away with benching him. You got to figure these struggles out on the fly. It
Yeah.
seems like.
I think the natural and best solution is just like get him in the mix less is more as opposed to like benching him.
Straight up benching,
Like
yeah.
give Gibson more of a role. We saw Hasty get some time after, the fumble for the fourth straight time for Ramondre, and then you have Kevin Harris, of course, they decide to involve him. Um, yeah, like it's really weird. You have a big time game, even with the fumble in the season opener for Ramondre, and then we're on a trend where we're talking about fumbles in every game. Kind of like, okay, Ramondre, like old Ramondre, looks really good. Big part of that first game in particular. And then 4 weeks in a row with a fumble is pretty bad, no matter the player. Yeah, you can't keep doing that. So, like, maybe it's just a one and done thing, like a little mental reset, little change in role, and he's
You'd
good.
hope.
Maybe it's not. Maybe this is big time dropsies problem developing Ramondre Stevenson. I am not leaning towards that, but I mean, 4 in a row is 4 in a row.
True. It is kind of alarming too, because like he did touch on it obviously after that Jets game. Like he basically was like, "Yeah, I know it's a problem. I got to get it figured out." And then again, you come out and again, it wasn't a problem at the start of the year. Really, obviously fumbles are problems, but like he was at least getting them back, or the Patriots were surviving them, because he had guys falling on it. Now you're starting to lose them, and you're flat out losing them. You're not getting them back, and it's turning into points for the team. Um, so yeah, it's a problem. You hope he gets it figured out, but like you said, 4 games is 4 games, and it's not looking like it's getting any better. Like you hold your breath now every time he touches the ball. And again, that's just something this offense can't afford right now with the struggles it's having.
No, absolutely not. And something else the offense can afford, but like can't afford in terms of watchability of the product and development of the offense is how Jacoby Brissett is playing,
Mm-hmm.
who is our number two.
Yeah, it's trending in the wrong direction. And again, it's a guy that you feel bad for going out there and getting his ass handed to him every game. And again, the first couple games, you could sit there and go, all right, it doesn't look great, but at least Brissett's not costing you games. He's not making mistakes. It's just kind of the product that it is. This was the first game where, for the people that want to argue, and we'll get into this discussion in a little bit because obviously we missed a decent chunk of it last week. The discussion on at this point, do you go with Drake May or do you go with Jacoby Brissett? Like this was the first game where I was kind of like, you might have to turn to May here because Brissett's making dumb decisions now, and maybe again it's the product of the offensive line. There were a couple times in this game where you kind of saw like Mac Jones esque stuff from last year,
Yeah.
where he's like flinching with there's no pressure or just making dumb. The
He's just
interception was a dumb mistake. Like
Brissett is just stressed.
it
Like
seems that's what I mean. It seems
he
like
looks
he is shell
stressed
shocked
like
at this point.
90% of the time, which is not good, especially for a veteran, but like
Mm-hmm.
you get it with the surroundings and now
Starting to hold
without
on to the
David
ball
Andrews
too
it's gonna get
long. Like
worse.
that's the big thing. Like
He
that's kind
just
of where
like
I'm at with him.
he doesn't look like every time he touches the ball, he just doesn't look like he has any confidence. Like he
No.
looks like he's gonna be scared right away or is scared right away. I watch him and expect bad things. You know, that's partially because of the fact that you're playing San Francisco and your offensive line stinks.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna add some like instinctual fear and from his perspective. But like, yeah, he just he's completely shell shocked. It's not good. It's an ugly product. It's unfortunate because he's a likable guy, but it's just where we're at. He got annihilated. He didn't look good fundamentally, really either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if he connected with Jalen Polk deep, that would have been awesome. But that was a prayer, so it's understandable
The
why that didn't
definition
happen.
of it,
So
yeah. Yep.
and yeah, it's bad. And would it get better under Drake May? I don't know, but especially with the Andrews thing, I don't know if they want a guy that played guard his whole career. And Nick Leverett snapping the ball to him, but
Probably
yeah, I
not,
don't know. The Andrews injury could really affect the whole Drake May transition, which
Yeah,
sucks.
I didn't even think of
Um,
that. That's a great point.
but Jacoby Brissett wasn't number one dud.
Yeah,
A certain newer fella.
something called Jacobs, the starting left tackle for this week. This is from Greg Bedard the other day on Felger and Mads, listening to them. Jacobs' stats for the game: he had him for 2 sacks allowed, 6.5 quarterback pressures, 4 quarterback hits, a half a hurry, and 1.5 stuff runs. I don't want to get on the guy too much because again, I have no idea who he was coming into this game. Didn't know anything about him until now that he's apparently not a good left tackle. But this is where you're at with the Patriots. That position has become a revolving door. I think you've had, what, 4 different left tackles in 4 weeks so far this year or something pretty close to it. And again, as you mentioned, with David Andrews now out, the offensive line is going to look a whole lot different again. Um, I don't know what else you can say about this offensive line. It hasn't already been said. Like, and again, it goes back into the poor roster construction and like you want to get mad at it, but you just can't because this is where you're at.
Yeah.
Like this is what you have on this team. And again, you want to point fingers at the front office. That's perfectly fine because I said this a couple weeks ago. Don't know how you can just neglect the offensive line for as long as they have, and especially the left tackle position, maybe the second most important position in the sport behind quarterback. It's just mind blowing to me that they continue to operate like they have and just don't seem to have any answers.
Yeah, I mean, this is an offensive line playing like it has depth players and waiver claims on it. And yeah, that's bound to happen. But this stat line is astonishing. 2 sacks, 6.5 QB pressures is ridiculous.
That's insane.
4 hits, half a hurry, and a stuffed 1.5 stuff runs. Of course, it's not. These aren't just all isolated. You can't put the blame for all these incidents just on him, but they do pop up in his stat sheet, so he does deserve blame. It's bad. It's really bad. And I mean, we've unfortunately gotten used to turnstiles on the offensive line that pop up here and again.
Mm-hmm.
One of them graduated to not turnstile status, being Jermaine Illuminor, who has figured it out over the past 2 years. But yeah, we've seen our fair share of guys, and we're not alone in football for fans that have seen that. But that's just where we're at. Demontre Jacobs, hope the guy can bounce back, but it's he's in a very tough spot, and he showed that, and I feel bad for the guy. But it was rough, really.
Yeah,
rough.
it really was. Yep. That's about that. That's how it goes with this Patriots team right now. So, like I said, one of the main talking points we touched on the Stevenson fumbling stuff. I think we both are in agreement. This has become a huge problem. And again, like I said, when he is especially the focal point of the offense, you got to get that figured out. I mentioned earlier the big talking point over the last couple of weeks, and it will continue. I feel like until a change is made, if one does get made. Drake May, for the people, this goes back to that Jets game too, because obviously we couldn't record last week, so we really didn't have thoughts on him actually getting in and playing, and the same thing pretty much happening to him that happened to Jacoby Brissett. For the people that want Drake May, we just talked about it with the offensive line. I don't know how people can still argue for Drake May playing at this point. As you just mentioned, with David Andrews now out, that muddies the waters even more. Brissett has been sacked 11 times in the last 2 games, 15 times in the first 4 weeks so far. I get it. It's people want the new shiny toy and want to see if this offense can do something under Drake May. And there's people that maybe think if he gets the ball out quicker, it'll be better. I just don't know how you can put him behind this sieve of an offensive line right now and expect him to do anything in his rookie season and not get the crap beat out of him and not have his confidence shaken. Like you saw, again, different player. I'm not comparing him to Mac Jones, but like you just kind of went through this with a young quarterback over the last couple of seasons. You saw what him getting beaten down did to his confidence and the lack thereof now. I'm not going to say that Drake May will have the same thing happen to him, but I just don't know how people can confidently say they think a quarterback change is what will make this team better.
I don't know if it's that as much as like people just want to see Brissett out, and they want to, like if it's going to go bad for Brissett, like they're comfortable for their own reasons of Drake May taking a bunch of lumps.
Mm-hmm.
Also, maybe some people have confidence in, pocket awareness and mobility. There's a combination of different things. I think there are different camps for people who want Drake May, but there's also the camp too of people like it's never gonna really get better probably. So like, are you gonna keep Drake May on the sidelines all year? Do you want to do that?
Good way to look at it.
Which I say, I'm very cool with the idea of starting Drake May against the Dolphins. Less cool with the whole Andrews thing. Less cool, but like to see what he has, and like he's gonna get hit a lot no matter when he comes in. Like David Andrews isn't coming back. Like Like you can't use that thing all year, like with the whole snapping ability and having your captain there
Hmm.
to give you the ball all season if you want to give Drake Mason time. But maybe, you know, the start of that injury, maybe we get Drake May in like 3 weeks when he develops some more rapport with Leverett. Or if they bring in another center. I don't know. Yeah, that I think that's where a lot of people come from. They're like, okay, we don't want him to get killed, but like if he comes in at some point, he's gonna get killed. Like
Hmm.
that's just where how the offensive line has been set up with or without Andrews. So there's lots of things you have to weigh, and I do maintain the fact that I do think Van Pelt has a big say in this too. And that's not breaking any ground because he's the offensive coordinator, but like he's been very vocal, like more so than Mayo at times, like directly. They're like, oh, like I like this about Drake, like I would prefer this versus Brissett. Like he's been kind of more on the side, like we like Drake and he's really talented, but like he needs to be ready to do this. Like, and Mayo's more the guy like Brissett is our quarterback. We're sticking with him as our quarterback. Even though lately Brissett is Mayo has been like, yeah, like he said on the radio, I think the other day, like, yeah, May got to a point where he was playing a lot better than Brissett in camp. So maybe he's changing that aspect a little bit as time goes along.
Hmm.
But um, I don't know. There's gonna have to be an alignment on the brain trust between the two of them to get Drake May involved, and there's a ton of different factors that go into it.
Yeah,
From like what's
absolutely.
going on in there, and of course how fans look at it. So
Hmm. I think too,
different
like for
sides.
me, like I'm not opposed again to play. I want to see May at some point this year too. I would just like to see, and it's going to be tough with it again. Just the injuries that have piled up. You haven't gotten any consistent, but like some consistency on the offensive line, like you said, build some rapport with some guys before you just kind of throw them in there, or just build have the offensive linemen build rapport with each other. Because again, I have it. I'm trying to find it in the outline here. Just the number of combinations you've had so far on the offensive line week to week. Yeah, Cincinnati, you get Chukwuekoror for Michael Jordan, David Andrews, Robinson and Onwenu. Then you get a new left tackle against Seattle, Vidarian Lowe.
Yeah,
Against the
because
Jets, it's
Okorafor
Caden
just
Wallace.
left.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
different.
He just
Like
flat out
that
dipped.
kind of like that kind of died quickly. That
It did.
story.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if there's really anything to that or people wanted to look into that too much, but like, yeah, you get Caden Wallace as a left tackle against the Jets, and then this week you get City So back at left guard, who just didn't look 100%. So I'm not going to knock him too much because he's obviously coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
You get Jacobs in there as we mentioned, the number one dud, and then you lose a couple of guys. You lose Andrews for the year, and then I think Caden Robinson he left that game on crutches,
Caden
and then
Wallace.
yeah, thank you. Caden, I don't know why he said I was looking at
You just
Robinson when I
mix
said that.
them up. You just mix
Mix a
them
couple
up.
of names up.
But
But the
you can
point
get a
being
super
is,
lineman out of those two. If you
yeah,
combine Caden Wallace into Layden Robinson, get a super lineman. Caden
maybe
Robinson.
he
Or
needs to do
Layden
something
Wallace.
because like I was,
What's a better name for a lineman? Caden Robinson or Layden Wallace?
hmm,
I think Caden Robinson's better.
I think so. Yeah, it
Okay.
rolls off the tongue a little bit more.
Hmm.
But no, he Wallace, the one I was trying to talk about, he left the game on crutches and in a walking boot. So
Yeah.
you are as banged up gets. Like I said, I know I think this was the week that I predicted in the preseason that this was when you would see Drake May. You give Brissett the first 4 games and then you roll with May. I don't want Drake May anywhere near this team until you get some sort of consistency. Maybe you get a couple guys back healthy, like you get City So going in the right direction. Maybe on when who figures out the problems he has because he hasn't looked all that great this season, which has been a big surprise. And as you mentioned,
Yeah.
you got to figure something out at the center spot now that David Andrews is gone for the year.
Yeah, and that's like a tough position to find because I feel like you don't see like big like who's even out there for
Just
centers. And
centers
of course,
available,
like
yeah.
people just have their centers too.
Hmm.
Like I don't know how many teams have like a good backup center they'd be willing to trade right now.
True. Yep.
Yeah, the Onwenu stuff hurts. The interesting thing too about Miami too is they're not playing well, so that might give them some ease if they were to consider it. Of course, as
True.
we know
Yep.
right now, they're not really considering putting Drake May in, which is fine. And also for his safety aspect, Jalen Phillips unfortunately just got ruled out for the season. So that would be one less pass rusher coming in his face for a team that really doesn't have a pass rusher
True. Their
anymore.
defense has not been
They
great.
did somewhat surprisingly draft Chop Robinson, but I mean Chop Robinson is going to take some time to become like an impact guy. I feel like he's like made some plays, but he's still young. Um, and of course, they let Christian Wilkins go to the Raiders for some reason, so you lose that interior disruptor. So this is a team that really didn't have much of a pass rush. Andrew Van Ginkel, who used to get after the quarterback a little bit, a linebacker, Minnesota, like
He used to
Jerome
kill the
Baker's
Patriots
gone.
too. So
I think Jerome Baker's injured in Seattle now. Yeah, like I wonder. I don't think they would, but if Andrews was healthy, if they'd more heavily consider putting Drake May in a week 5. But
it is an
if I
interesting
were
way
to
to look
guess,
at
I'd
it.
say no. I bet they still put Brissett in, but I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe they feel a little better if Andrews was there, but maybe I'm reading into that too much. I don't know.
I don't know.
Um, Sneeze.
I was just gonna say, sneeze, brain fart. What's going on? Well, you
Ooh,
sneeze. The only other
God,
thing that came out of the
jeez,
San
love making
Francisco game that
noise.
kind of caught my eye, I wanted to get your thoughts on as well too. We have obviously been very vocal that this is going to be a work in progress season, so you're gonna have to take the lumps as we've talked about. So I wanted to ask you a temperature check on the coaching staff over the last couple weeks because again, you saw some problems start to creep up in that Seattle game. They were definitely creeped up, from bad tackling. It just didn't look like they were ready to go. 2 weeks in a row now where you've had Aaron Rodgers, obviously not the most mobile quarterback, and Brock Purdy, a more mobile quarterback, but two guys who have been able to get out of the pocket, extend plays. Like I said, you've seen some poor tackling, poor discipline on the Patriots' defensive side of the ball, kind of everything that was so great in that first Cincinnati game that we were surprised by, how well, obviously, they tackled, how well they were
Oh
ready to
yeah,
get
what a
up. They were
time.
very disciplined. That has all seemingly gone out the window. Obviously, we know the offense is going to be a struggle this year. It's been a work in progress with Alex Van Pelt. Although I do think he could be doing a little bit more when it comes to scheming up some shorter plays. Obviously, there was the talk about getting Demario Douglas more involved a couple weeks ago, which he's kind of done, or at least did in that Jets game a little bit more. He kind of went away from that in the San
So
Francisco game.
part of
But
that
where
for
are you
me,
at on the
real
coaching staff?
part of that for me too. Like I will put blame on Van Pelt. I don't want to absolve him of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Jacoby Brissett is having trouble finding people. Like he
And I think
just
that
seems
goes
to
back
like
into what you said earlier
he
about
seems
him
to
now starting to get
panic.
skittish. Yeah.
He seems to panic and then tunnel vision closes in and he sees like one lane, or if he's looking to the left, he's looking to the right or looking downfield,
Yep.
right straight ahead. That was a really stupid visual. I see it out to the side now on the second screen. I have for the chat. Like maybe that goes into Van Pelt, maybe at some point wanting to see what Drake May can do. Cause like, hey, if I want to make this offense more productive, maybe Drake May can find these guys that Brissett can't better.
Mm-hmm.
Because Brissett just like seems like he finds one guy or finds no one and freaks out or goes down or doesn't make a play. We saw Douglas frustrated
I was
in
just gonna say that it's interesting you bring
he
that up because
was
that happened obviously in the last game. Yep.
yeah, and good on himself. He's like, yeah, I wish I didn't do that. Like, that's not who I am, type of stuff. Which is good, but I mean, reasonable. Like, you have Polk getting like an interesting look like once or twice a game. Javon Baker isn't playing. KJ Osborne never touches the ball. Like,
Tyquan Thornton's back to doing absolutely nothing
Tyquan Thornton
except
does
getting blown up
nothing.
on blocks. I don't know if you
Kayshawn
saw that in the game.
Kayshawn Booty does nothing. Kendrick Bourne is just getting back to practice. Um, like it's just lifeless.
Mm-hmm.
And I never watch a play and like with Brissett, and I'm like, okay, like they can make a play here. Like, what if they can get, what if they do this? What if they do that? Like, I'm just like, okay, like Brissett's probably gonna get sacked.
Yep.
And it took to the red zone to like find a like an interesting open look for Austin Hooper. Like, I don't know. I 90% of the time I just expect a bad play or I expect a run play.
Well,
That's
you
just
had
where
that
they're at the offense.
the Travis Kelce lateral play that got called back because of a hold or a block or something. If you remember that, I think was it Polk or somebody threw the ball backwards. Either the Gibson, or I might be getting the players completely wrong here, but they did try that. Like I said, if people remember that Kelce to Kadarius Toney play from last year where you threw it backwards, obviously
Mhm.
after making the catch, they did have that at one point, but I think that was negated because of an offensive lineman holding or an illegal block downfield,
Oh,
some penalty.
I think I do vaguely remember that, but I
Yeah.
don't really remember it that much.
Yeah, you try to put these games behind you once they're over. I get
Yeah,
it. Like,
I know.
not a lot. But yeah, I mean, other than the offense, again, that was, I kind of trailed off there. It was mainly more a Mayo and the defense question. Any concerns with them? Because again, it's been very uncharacteristic these last couple of weeks, especially Mayo coming from a defensive background, to not have the defense ready to go. And I think it was, I know you're not a huge fan of him, but I heard this the other day. Devon Godshaw apparently was calling people out, saying like,
Yeah,
we
he
need to
actually
be
did
more
something.
disciplined. Yeah, he was
He
good in this
actually made a
game.
play or two for
Hmm.
once, which was nice. So maybe he has right to do that. Um, yeah, like I guess like I'm not like too upset because you did play San Fran this week. Like if we're having similar defensive concerns after Miami with Tyler Huntley at quarterback and Tyreek Hill completely neutralized by these developments essentially, and I don't think Jalen Waddle does like anything.
He's
Their
done
their
like
offense is
nothing
non-existent.
recently.
Like
Yeah.
Chan can't do anything. Like even say what you want about Tua. Like some people love him, some people don't like him as much. Like we're seeing how much they need him,
Hmm.
at least, to chug the offense along. Um, yeah, if defensive concerns remain kind of the same, or we're saying similar things like or fans are against Miami, that's a little different. A team that just lost by 19 to Will Levis, or
Hmm.
kind of Will
Not
Levis
even
and the
Will Levis.
Titans.
Yeah. Mason Rudolph.
Um, Mason Rudolph and a little bit of Will Levis. Will Levis just like he he's doing stuff that I don't know if anyone's done.
He's just become a walking meme at this point. I saw you tweeted out after last night or Monday night's game. You get the new picture of the new Will Levis meme. So that's four pictures. Ramondre Stevenson, four fumbles in four
As he's
weeks. Will
doing
Levis,
Mayo
four pictures,
commercials
and
too.
yeah.
Like you see like Will Levis just like hurt his shoulder diving for a pylon that they should have challenged, by the way. They didn't
Hmm.
challenge that. He
Yep.
definitely got that first down. And then like 10 minutes later, you see like a weird Mayo commercial with him. Like, oh, I'm sure that's the situation he wanted
Yeah.
this to be
Great
broadcasted
timing.
in
Yep.
after he just busted his shoulder
Hmm.
diving for a first down. He loves to dive too. To give him credit, like the body craves contact even when the contact is with the turf.
Right. Yeah.
Hey man,
Got a
you know
lot of
I'm not a big
quarterbacks
Will
in this
Levis
league that
fan, but
just, as we'll get into in the weekly recap, a
yeah,
lot of
I sort of
quarterbacks
have
just hate
respect for them.
sliding.
Oh yeah, they love hurting themselves or
Yep.
setting themselves up to hurt
Put
themselves.
themselves in precarious positions.
Um,
Absolutely.
let's speak about those Miami Dolphins who lost to the Tennessee Titans 31-12 on Monday night, double Monday night again. I love the double Monday night. Um,
As do I.
and we needed it because this game sucked and the Seahawks and Lions game was quite entertaining.
Well, it's been the
But
last 2 weeks have been like the two double headers. The Buffalo Jags game was over in
yeah.
10 minutes 2 weeks ago, and
Oh
now,
yeah, we're on a trend like that.
yeah, absolutely.
This game is a pick 'em. Patriots are 1 point favorites. Opened, as you said, as Miami as a half a point favorite. The over-under is 35.5. That's just a gross number.
Disgusting. Yep.
Um, the Patriots are dead last in total yards and yards passing per game. They are 24th in yards allowed and 29th in pass yards allowed, but only 9th in rush yards allowed and 12th in yards rushing. So rushing run defense and running overall is going good on both sides of the ball, but everything else really isn't.
Mhm.
So um, that and Tua being hurt and the Dolphins just not really being good right now sets this up to be a pretty ugly game
Yes, it
um,
does.
in a way that I don't think any of us really expected. Tyler Huntley debuts as a Dolphin, goes 14-22 for 96 yards and got sacked twice. Pretty ugly. But hey, that completion percentage isn't the worst, I guess. But even with a subpar quarterback situation, they do have lots of weapons. Hill, Waddle, Achan, Jonnu Smith. Like, if you want to consider him an upgrade over Durham Smythe, you have a little bit to look at the tight end position. Um, and their defense looks a lot different than last year. You're looking at guys like Jordan Brooks a little more now. You were looking at Jalen Phillips before he unfortunately got hurt and is out for the year. You're looking at Jalen Ramsey or the shell of himself because he's not as good anymore. Javon Holland can make plays. Calais Campbell will still do stuff despite his advanced age. Emmanuel Ogba. It's a different looking defense. No Xavier Howard. We talked about guys that moved on like Van Ginkel and Wilkins and Baker as well. It's a different Dolphins team, and it's not different in a good way right now. So, as much as things are fucked with the Patriots, you kind of, unless you're finding a way in your head for the Dolphins to win this game no matter what, you're kind of wondering if the Patriots can pull this out, right?
This is I would hope so. I mean, this, like you said, if you have the problems that continue, or the problems continue that you had the Jets in the 49ers games, then you have a real, really bad football team in your hands in the Patriots this year. Because I think I was going to talk about it when we did the weekly recaps, but I'll touch on it here because it is the Dolphins game. I think you're seeing Mike McDaniels as come out as a fraud here. Like, I get that your quarterback's out, but as you mentioned, you have all the talent in the world on offense. You should be able to get Tyreek Hill the ball. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. You should be able to get Jalen Waddle involved more. He's, as you said, been basically non-existent. He has like, I feel like watching them the last couple of weeks, 1 or 2 catches at the start of the game, and then does nothing the rest of the way. A-Chain's a great back. He really hasn't been able to get anything going because obviously teams know just sell out for the run against the Dolphins. You're going to be able to stop them. And he looks lost on the sidelines. Like I was talking to my dad last night because I missed the halftime interview, and he asked me, they asked him a question. He basically was like sputtering for an answer, like didn't really give an answer. So I just think you're starting to see him, and I think you saw it a couple weeks ago that the fan base kind of turned on him a little bit, obviously booing him in, I can't remember who the Dolphins had a couple weeks ago in one of their games, but was not good, obviously, with Skylar Thompson's a quarterback. So I think there aren't going to be many games, I don't think, this year where you're going to have the coaching advantage. Nothing against Gerard Mayo. It just is what it is when you have a rookie head coach. This one, I think you should be able to, because McDaniel hasn't done anything scheme-wise these last couple of weeks that's been all that impressive. And again, the Dolphins on offense right now, averaging just over 11 points a game. Like, if you can't find a way to beat that team, like that, you got to have like some sort of, I don't even know, organizational fix or something, because that just shows how bad and how far behind the Patriots are.
Yeah, you got to kind of like, if you're the Patriots, find a way to unlock that Cincinnati effectiveness with Rhamondre Stevenson if you want a chance or an increased chance. This game, to me, the more and more I think about it, is a very interesting one for the Dolphins because if you lose, you're like, okay, we don't care how long Tua's out. We should probably try and trade for a quarterback. But if you lose, your season might just be cooked.
I was going to ask, is it over? Do you even bring Tua back at that point? Like,
do you just bring in a quarterback just for your offensive weapons sake? Or do you bring in a quarterback for the sake of like, hey, like if we get the right guy, maybe we can string together some wins and at least fight for a playoff spot? Because right now, if they go 1-4 with the loss of the Patriots, that's pretty bad. And you wonder, how that affects their attack at a QB, because Tyler Huntley isn't a long-term guy. If he plays decent against the Patriots and wins or loses, you should still consider another quarterback. Because Skylar Thompson isn't going back in there unless he absolutely needs to for some reason.
Not a big Tim Boyle guy.
They have Tim Boyle?
Yeah, he played in the game Skylar Thompson got hurt.
Wow.
That second or third game he came in. So yeah, that's what I mean. That's the thing with them too, is how have you not attacked, the Browns, because it doesn't seem like they wanted.
Tim Boyle is probably better than Skylar Thompson.
I don't disagree with that at all.
And Tim Boyle went to UConn. Tim Boyle is an anomaly for even being in the NFL. Mm-hmm. No offense, UConn.
Not a football school.
You know where your football team's at this point. It's just it's a harmless jab. There's no hate involved.
But it is interesting you bring that point up, because like I feel like they should have been attacking a quarterback to begin with. Win or lose, I'm with you. You almost have to, especially if you lose. Like I'm not saying if you go to 1-4 that the season's completely over. It's on the the edge of a cliff at this point. But you could maybe salvage it. I don't know what the Dolphins' schedule looks like the rest of the way. But if you lose, you almost have to. It doesn't seem like the Browns are going to ever play Jameis Winston. They're stuck with Deshaun Watson and his dumbass. So I don't know why you wouldn't call them up. I'd call Pittsburgh, as much as I don't like him. I think he's washed. I'd see if they maybe, with how good Justin Fields has looked, try to get Russ just for something. Maybe
Russ makes the most sense.
Yeah, just again, if you're the Dolphins and you want just like Jersey Jerry's doing, and stick to the meme that is Russell Wilson, just to get that for some vibes in there. I'm still saying you call up Jacksonville and see. I can't imagine Mac Jones is going to be worse than Skylar Thompson or Tim Boyle.
No. Even though
he's not good.
How we feel about Mac.
Yeah,
it's Mac Jones or Russell Wilson. It's those two guys.
You don't think Jameis at all? The fact that the Browns haven't turned to him yet is insane.
Trade Jameis?
It doesn't seem like they want to play him. Like I
don't think they want to trade him just in case. Like,
true.
Because there is the idea of too, like, hey, like backup quarterback came in last year, did pretty good for the Browns. What if you need Jameis and Jameis looks really good? Mm-hmm. I think they'd rather have that. I don't know, but I don't want to see Jameis go to the Dolphins. That's one thing personally I would hate. They don't deserve him.
No.
But yeah, this game's got shit written all over it, but intrigue at the same time. It's like a turd dressed in a tuxedo. So that's cool, I guess. I don't think we're gonna see Kendrick Bourne this week, if I had to guess, but I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of operating under the assumption, like, first week off the pup, they'll just like get him in practice and talk about him week 6. But you never know. He's a pretty upbeat guy too, so he might just be like, yeah, if I'm healthy, play me. But he was limited today. Um,
How do
pretty
you even
lengthy
factor
injury
him in if you
report.
get him back? Like, sorry to cut you off, but like I feel like he's more like would
Any
be their
way
deep threat.
possible.
I
Any way
get it's an
possible.
obvious answer, but like
That's my
again, when you
answer.
don't have time to throw anybody the football, like Kendrick Bourne on a normal offense would make a difference, yes, but I'm sitting here trying, and I'm excited to have him come back, obviously. But I'm trying to wrap my brain around how exactly with how bad this offense has looked, how much of a factor is he actually going to be? Because again, like if you're going into this with a makeshift offensive line, you have no time to throw the football, and maybe it's going to be different, like you said, because the Dolphins don't really get after the quarterback. Um, like this again, this might be a game where you're like, all right, like we're getting Bourne back, but like let's ease him back in here. Let's keep him out just for this week, just to kind of get him fully 100% back healthy, and then we'll just attack, whoever. I'm drawing a blank on who the Patriots have next week, and go from there.
Me too. Yeah, I'm with you. Like it's exciting to have him back, but with this offense, you do wonder how effective he's gonna be. Something we haven't really talked about, Kyle Duggar, another leader,
Yeah,
probably
another big
looking
loss
like he's not
potentially.
playing. He got hurt in San Fran. I mean,
Did avoid a major injury though. That was the report, so that was at least the lone bright spot. But
if in with the quarterback play, you hope they don't, but the way Jonathan Jones played against San Fran, if he plays, like you wonder if Tyreek's gonna be able to revive himself a little bit against him, because Jonathan Jones had some really rough moments against San Fran, and he is limited, so he might be playing a little banged up with that shoulder injury. But um, I don't know, man. This game has ugly written all over it.
mhm.
Um, maybe
Yeah,
we'll
like
see a new combination of the offensive line. I would imagine we do.
I would think
With no
so.
way
Yeah,
David Andrews, we'll see
can't
how
imagine
different
David
he
Andrews is
is.
playing. No,
Um, yeah, I could have phrased that better. They
it's
brought
okay.
in Jerome Carvin, who they had in camp at some point. Apparently, he can play multiple positions on the line. When I think of that, I think of guard and tackle. I hope he can play a little center if needed.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, maybe Jake Andrews, the other Andrews, should play
Oh
center
yeah, I
instead of
forgot
Nick
about him.
Leverett.
Yeah,
I think he's on the
wasn't he
practice
drafted
squad.
as a center?
Yeah, they drafted him out of Troy as a center.
Okay, so
I think
maybe
he played
there's
guard
your
too.
answer there. All right.
Why not Jake Andrews? Go from Andrews to Andrews. Maybe it's that simple, folks. Um, as you've noted here, Christian Gonzalez versus Tyreek Hill round two. But the
Do you even
way
get
Christian
excited for
Gonzalez
this?
has
I
come back, you're pretty optimistic for Gonzalez's sake.
I guess, but like I was thinking, the more I was after reading this, thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know how you get up for this. Like you're not
No,
getting a
yeah,
world
no.
beater at quarterback to throw Tyreek Hill the ball. So like Christian Gonzalez, like I'm sure
You
he'll have
never
another
know,
good
man.
day.
Tyler Huntley might have it in him.
Like if you watch
Maybe
the
he learned.
the
Maybe he
Tennessee
learned
game,
something. Maybe he
like
learned something from Lamar. You never know, man. Maybe last week was just a prank.
just yeah,
Um,
smoke and mirrors.
yeah, smoke and mirrors. Yeah, like you're in the right camp. Like it's not as exciting as it would have been if Tua was playing.
For
But
sure. Yep.
yeah, things don't always go as you planned. Um, we both predict gross games for this. We are both on the under. We both have the Patriots covering as well, as the line stands at -1. I have the Patriots winning 16-13. I don't see a scenario where it gets over 30 points in this one.
There's no way. I don't know what I would do if it does, but yeah, I got 17-10. This game's going to be disgusting. I think the Patriots here figure a couple things out again, just because I think the Dolphins are, as we know, they are a finesse bitch team to begin with, and now they've just been proven to be absolute frauds. And Mike McDaniel doesn't know what he's
Now they're just
doing.
bad. They've
Now
shed
they're
the title.
exactly now they're just flat out bad. We got to give the finesse bitch team to somebody else this year because the Dolphins don't even
Ooh,
deserve that.
it's exciting. Who could be the next new finesse bitch team? Um, I don't know if
I
there is
mean,
one yet.
second in command, I would say would be the Cowboys, but they just suck this year too. So,
Maybe the Eagles?
ooh, good one.
Eagles
Yeah,
finesse bitch team.
yep,
Yes.
perfect. Because who they
Yes.
beat this year? They beat
The
somebody bad.
Saints
Who the
in
hell
that
did the
gross
Eagles?
game, and then they
Yeah, I think you might be
beat,
right. I gotta look that up
who else
now.
did
Who
they
the
beat?
Eagles?
Um, I don't know.
I'll look it up. You keep talking. You give your spiel
Are we
if
doing
you have a spiel.
our recap first, or are we doing predictions first?
We can do the recap.
All right, cool. Cowboys and Giants. Not this game feels so long ago. This game was fun, namely because of Malik Neighbors,
Beat the Packers.
who unfortunately got hurt and like a fall that immediately looked bad.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
I thought he
the
like
way
broke his
his
collarbone or
body was
something
there,
like
you could
super
immediately
serious.
see concussion, whether it was like I don't think his head fully like smacked the turf, but like sometimes you can get it even from like the chin and the
Yeah.
reverberation.
Yep.
I don't remember how exactly it looked, but like it looked bad, and
Hmm.
he looked like he was out cold. When I first saw it, I was like, holy shit. Um, which was really unfortunate because I was joking with my girlfriend that like they should target him 14 times a game, like Cooper Cup level, and they targeted him 15 times.
15. Yep.
Now he's concussed. Unfortunately, that happens at the end of the game. So shitty. Um, but he looks so good on a bad team. He could genuinely be the best receiver in the league in 2 years, maybe
I
less.
I don't doubt that at all. You get him a competent quarterback, and Daniel Jones has had his moments here and there these last couple of weeks. But
Yeah,
you get him a
true.
real quarterback, like look out. Like you were talking
Yeah,
Justin Jefferson,
he
Jamar Chase
is.
level, like could take over the league.
He's pretty preposterous. He has 12 catches on 15 targets, 115 yards. Wanda Robinson's also been excellent. Jalen Hyatt's kind of the odd man out in that uh, group of young receivers. Um, Parsons was getting neutralized and then got hurt. He didn't really do much in this game. Demarcus Lawrence is cooked for a little while, 4 to 8 weeks, as you have listed. And like, it wasn't a good football game, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it wasn't the
Is that fair
typical
to
like
say?
Cowboys run away with it, blow the Giants out by
Yeah.
35 points, and the game's over at halftime. So like it was interesting. There were moments.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen very much worse Thursday night football games. We'll take it, hopefully, uh, for his sake and for the enjoyment of football this year. The Malik Neighbors is back soon because that was pretty
Absolutely.
scary. I agree with your assessment of Broncos Giants. I have nothing on this game. It was so bad and ugly and rainy and just terrible. Next, Skip. Any additional comments?
Just the ending was hilarious. Like typical way
Yeah,
for the Jets to
fucked
lose
me
that ball game, and
over.
Aaron
Fucked me
Rodgers
over.
is acting like a little bitch like we expected him to. So
Yeah,
nothing surprising. Again, I hate that I picked the Jets to win this friggin' division.
yeah. I mean the division's pretty
Stinks.
gross besides the Bills. So, and the Bills had
They
question
look
marks
bad,
going
yeah.
in with the receiver core, all that stuff. So it's
Division's
classic
wide
that
open
they're
if
the
the
ones
Patriots
that
want
are
to
looking really
step up
good.
and take it.
Yeah,
Wide
they
open.
wide open. Saints and Falcons was good, but like not that great of a game. Like it was high scoring, but like I didn't think it was a super exciting game. Um, the Troy Anderson pick six was awesome. Younghoe Koo was doing Younghoe Koo stuff, and the Hodge punt recovery was good. But um, people like Taysom Hill. He doesn't do it for me.
No, I'm
Doesn't do
done.
it
I'm
for
over
me.
Taysom Hill, especially having Alvin Kamara in a
He's
fantasy
like
league and seeing him not get goal line work to
he doesn't
Taysom Hill.
like.
Very aggravating.
I don't know how to describe him. It's just like it bugs me. Like I'm just like, okay, dude, like okay, you're like a quarterback, but you're not a quarterback, and you just everybody knows to look at you when you're on the field. Like I don't know, maybe I'm just
See,
a
but
hater.
that's what pisses me off. It's funny that you bring this up because now like I'm gonna get into it too. Like that's what aggravates me about him is that other defenses and teams don't know how to stop him. Like you see him coming into the game. It's not like
You
he
know what he's gonna
throws touchdown
do,
passes. You know he's running right up the middle. Like
dude. It's so annoying.
it blows my mind that you can't like load the
And he's on the
box or whatever and
Saints.
stop
Ugh,
him. Like I don't get it. I
stupid.
don't get how he's so successful. I don't get how teams just can't ski and like, oh, Taysom Hill's in the game. This is a run up the middle. Like again, he's a
Yeah,
quarterback who doesn't throw touchdown passes. He runs them in. Like
yeah. They lost, but credit to the Saints. You know they're making it work with a team that shouldn't probably be as good as they are. But you know they have lost their last two games, so maybe we'll see a lot of games like this where like the Saints look like, oh, they're better than they should be, but they're gonna lose close games like this, like the
yep.
ones the Eagles and of course the Falcons. Like the Falcons could have Falcons this for sure. Bengals and Panthers, like another high scoring game, but like um I don't know, didn't like
Didn't do it for
thrill
you?
me.
No.
But I
It went
mean,
about as you expected it to, really. Like there really
yeah,
wasn't a
like
whole lot to take away from it. We know the Bengals
yeah,
defense sucks. We know the Panthers are better with Andy Dalton in there, and
and like
Bryce
you
Young's
said,
time
we
is
were texting
maybe
like
over.
you know the Bengals were gonna make it annoying for their fans.
Yep.
Joe Burrow, outside of the pick he threw, has looked pretty good the last 2 weeks. Slow starter, team's a slow starter. Maybe he's rounding into form. Jamar Chase got in. Zach Moss got in the end zone. Shout out Zach Moss. Helped me hit my first big boy of the year.
Yep.
Plus like 700 something on that one. Chase Brown gets in twice. T. Higgins made some plays. Love to see the ball spread around. If you're that, and if you're the Bengals or a Bengals fan, he hasn't had like a huge game yet, but I think they found something in Eric All Jr. Classic and Iowa tight end looks good. I think he was a pretty highly rated recruit too, if I'm not mistaken, or at least just like a draft prospect, like a year before he was draft eligible. Ended up falling to the fourth round. I remember seeing first round talk for him early in the cycle. Um, and yeah, like I think the Andy Dalton decision was good. Like Bryce Young doesn't seem like down in the dumps on the sidelines. Maybe he's like relieved. Sure, he'd love to play, I bet, but like even the first overall pick, I guess, needs some time. Maybe, him and Andy Dalton have this awesome relationship now with different plans in place. And maybe Bryce Young isn't exactly fully a bust yet. If he comes back and sucks, yeah. But maybe
Yeah.
maybe he really, really needed this. And maybe the Panthers did too, because Andy Dalton is a breath of fresh air for the fans, at least.
Hmm.
And of course,
Yeah,
he's playing for someone playing his old team.
absolutely. Maybe it's a confidence builder for some of these, weapons they have because you get some of these guys going right. You get a good quarterback in there, like the trio of Hubbard, Johnson, Leggett. Obviously, when you get Brooks back, 'cause I don't know if he was cleared to practice this week or what his situation is, but like the pieces don't look
Jonathan Brooks is
terrible.
going to be fun. Like Miles
Yeah,
Sanders looked like a dumb signing to begin with, and still does. Then you get Jonathan Brooks going. Like if he plays like he did at Texas, he's going to be an instant
yeah,
contributor.
you got some pieces on this Panthers team. Like you
Like
just get a quarterback in there, some defensive parts.
yeah,
Like not a
like
terrible football team as we
Hubbard's
thought they
one of
might have
those
been.
guys too. Like he's not going to be like a week to week stud, but like he has one of these games every once in a while where he's like, wow, he looks really fast. He looks really good.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like you think I'd be like raving about this game, I guess, for 34-24, but like it was a fine, enjoyable football game.
Yep.
It's the Bengals and the Panthers. The Bengals are good, we know that, but they, are frustrating sometimes, and the Panthers are trying to fix some things with a new quarterback at the helm. Uh, Rams and Bears was pretty eh. Didn't love this game, but
Very for quite some time.
Caleb Williams caught flack for the hip hip hooray people are saying celebration after,
Yeah.
which I thought was perfect. Didn't
Woo!
co-
Did
Wish
it.
that one came to me first.
Yep.
Looking back, I'm like, damn, I could have had that
That's
one,
one of those ones
but
you're like, how did I think about that in the moment? Damn it.
well, like a wahoo, like
Yeah.
yay,
Like the Mario, yeah.
yippee
Yeah.
celebration. DeAndre Swift woke up for the first time as a Bear.
That was good to see.
Caleb like didn't light the world on fire, but was efficient and didn't throw a pick.
He's
So we'll
getting
take that.
less dumb, like is that a way to look at it?
Yeah,
Like
like
taking off some rust? I don't know how to describe it.
he had like a weird lighthearted cockiness that clearly got exposed. Like, hey,
And
you
humbled
shouldn't
very
be as
quick. Yep.
confident as you know outwardly like I'm ready for this like as you thought. And it's funny because they posted a highlight reel of the punter on Twitter when Caleb Williams said, "Oh, you're not going to be
You're never
punting
gonna have
much
to
this
punt.
year, or
Yeah.
whatever."
Yep.
They had to have done that on purpose, which is awesome marketing and social media strategy. So I got to give them props. They're like, let's put out a
Hmm.
punter montage. This will get the people going and get the
Yep.
replies going. But their defense continues to look good. Poor Jaquan Brisker had an interception taken back because he was out of bounds initially. That's got to be the worst. Something like that has got to be so embarrassing.
Yep.
But I mean, Kevon Dexter gets a sack. Montez Sweat, you got him to get sacks. He gets one too. Um, and they made things a little uncomfortable. And, that's important when Matthew Stafford can still make amazing throws like Matthew Stafford, but they are dealing with quite a bit of injuries. And now I saw Demarcus Robinson is even questionable. So,
That's not good. Yeah, I mean they're kind
yeah.
of in a tough
So
spot right
that's where
now.
they're at.
They're to a different extent, but I feel like they're kind of the version of last year's Giants team where your running back maybe is your one source of offense. Like Kyron Williams has been excellent these last couple of weeks, and he has had to be because obviously, like you said, you're dealing with no Cooper Cup, dealing with no Puka Nakua. Now if Robinson's out, like that's another big blow for them. It's gonna be what like Williams and Parkinson, and maybe like Tutu Atwell. So the Rams are in a little bit
And
of
Tutu
a
Atwell's good, yeah.
He's been good, yeah, but again, no Cooper Cup, no Puka Nakua. So the
Hmm.
Rams are kind of in a tough spot right now. This is a game that obviously there's not a lot of must-win games early in the season, but like if you're the Rams, you probably saw this one on the schedule and probably wanted to get this one because again, the Bears are still
Hmm.
trying to figure themselves out. And maybe
Right.
the Rams let this one slip away.
Yeah, it wasn't the best football game. I'm sure they're not happy about it, but A lot going on in Ram territory this year that they don't love, I would imagine. So, Vikings 31, Packers 29. The Packers battle back. I respect the hell out of Jordan Love just going all out at
Yep.
a certain point. Like the switch flipped, like we're getting blown out. Like let's go crazy. Almost threw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks is a hilarious little duo
Wild
there.
stat line. Yep.
Sam Darnold, like, is Sam Darnold just a super late bloomer? Is Minnesota the perfect system? Is Kevin O'Connell the perfect coach for him? Aaron Jones was great. Justin Jefferson was great. Addison was great. Um, Even the Packers, like, I think Josh Jacobs is now like holds the record for most receptions without a touchdown. I don't think he's caught like a passing touchdown, which is
I
funny.
heard that
I
on the
think that's the
broadcast too.
stat.
They said, yeah,
Jaden Reed is excellent. We've been like at points like Jaden Reed is the number one guy. Then you have Dontavian Wicks. Tucker Kraft even got in the end zone. Like they set themselves up in a position where Christian Watson's coming in, Romeo Dobbs is coming in, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed all around the same time, and like a frenzy for who wants to take wide receiver 1 or 2. And it changes. Like it's mainly been Jaden Reed lately, but like Christian Watson could show up and just have a 100-yard week. And like, oh, Christian Watson, like this is another kid, like high draft
keeps you
pick.
guessing. Yep.
They have a fascinating receiver group, and it's so funny to see how it all materialized after Aaron Rodgers left. Um,
He had to have
Man,
thought,
like
think that
what?
might have been on purpose. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely out of spite. This was a funky, fun football game.
it really was. And I would like to apologize for, I think, picking the Vikings to maybe have like 1 or 2 wins. They're a fun team. Like you said, Sam
Yeah,
Darnold's
I mean
proven a
they're
lot
gonna.
of people wrong
Yeah,
right now, which is awesome to see. Because again, he was a guy that I was not high on at all, whether it was with the Jets or, like I said, going to the Vikings, thinking they weren't going to win a lot with him. He's been excellent. He's one of the front runners right now for MVP, which is kind of crazy to think about with how good that team has looked. Their defense is, I mean, obviously almost gave up a big lead, but their defense has been very good this year too, which has been kind of a surprise. So Vikings all around been a very good team so far this year.
yeah. Sam Darnold MVP, Jane Daniels MVP. Who's it gonna be? Um, Texans and Jaguars. I'm sure the Texans are thrilled about this one, but
Can't imagine they
a
would
win is
be.
a win. Uh, CJ Stroud was really good. Nico Collins is one of the best receivers in the league. They had one drive that they got that touchdown where they had like I think a penalty or two and so many attempts that he couldn't reel in. And I think one got nullified by a penalty. And then like the fifth time they targeted him, he just gets the touchdown. Like
I think he had
he
like
just
3 touchdowns on one drive, didn't he? That's the one you're talking about.
yeah, he's like
Yeah.
he just won't be denied.
Nope.
And like he was a good player coming out of Michigan. I think he got drafted in the third round, but like I don't know if anyone expected Nico Collins to be this good.
No, guy's like
He
gonna be a
he's
top
like
five
genuinely
receiver right now.
yeah, top five. I was gonna say that too. Like
Mhm.
fantastic. Stephon Diggs continues to be great. BTJ's really good in a bad season for the Jags. I mean, he was amazing at LSU. Christian Kirk got in the end zone. I'm sure they love that. They paid him a lot. And Trevor Lawrence, like no picks, but oh,
Start to
a
have a
passing yard
conversation
total
about
around
Trevor
like
Lawrence.
160. You just expect a 160, 180 passing yard total
Yep.
for Trevor Lawrence. Like set your watch to it. No matter how many passes he completes, like he feels like he always ends up around this number. Like he never gets over like 230. It
Yeah,
feels
it's
like
very unimpressive. And again, I think the
for a guy that was
Jaguars.
built as generational size,
Yeah.
arm strength, like intelligence. He does this every
He's got to
week.
do something. Like I feel like he was more mobile too coming out of college, and like I feel like he just doesn't run at all anymore. Maybe that's by design. They don't want him to get hurt or whatever, or that's just the scheme that
Yeah,
the Jags are playing. But they got to change something up. Like their season, I
he
know I said
really
earlier with the
is.
Dolphins that
He
you don't
really
want to
is like
kind of
if you
team out.
turned a horse into a human and had him play quarterback. He looks and runs like a
Like
horse.
he gallops.
Yeah, like he just like he's kind of big and dainty.
Mm-hmm. Dainty.
That's an
All right.
oxymoron in a weird
Yeah.
way.
What Trevor
Steelers and
Lawrence?
yeah, I don't know. He catches flack here. It's all good. Um, Steelers and Colts. He definitely that guy probably doesn't listen to sports podcasts.
Oh, I doubt it.
He probably listens to like David Goggins or something. Steelers and Colts. Colts 27. Steelers 24. Uh, Anthony Richardson unsurprisingly got hurt
Said,
again.
said it earlier. We want to talk about quarterbacks that hate sliding and
We're like, ugh, Anthony, what are
Yeah.
you doing there? Then he goes,
Yep.
oh, and gets hurt. Hip injury. Michael Pittman popped off for the first time this year. Josh Downs gets in the end zone. Justin Fields is looking pretty
Sneaky
comfortable.
good. Yep.
He's not an amazing passer still, but he looked pretty good this week as a
Hmm.
passer. I'm still not confident that he can do this on a consistent basis. I'm leaning towards the run side, but maybe Justin Fields is figuring it out as a passer. Maybe it was just the Colts matchup, but he's not making dumb mistakes and he's looking at more than one read, which is progress.
Hmm.
He was sacked 4 times, which isn't great, but kind of helps when you can put in 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, good football game, good tight football game.
Hmm. Yeah, I
And
mean
not gross. It could have been 16-13
yeah,
because it's the Steelers.
you figured this was an under game for sure. This was one of those gross ones that the Steelers would find a way to win, and they ended up,
Hmm.
falling just short. Justin Fields, I think I texted you
All's
during the
right.
game because it was not a great start for him, and it was kind of looking like, yeah, I think I texted you. Maybe this is the game that they find a way to force Russell Wilson back into things for the Steelers. And then the second half, Fields was very good, like you said, a couple of rushing touchdowns, almost led him to a comeback. End up falling short, but again, I think this is his job to lose at this point because. Again, I just think Russell Wilson's washed. And I don't know why you would take the youngster out of there right now, or the younger option, obviously, with how well he's played.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of lends more credence to the whole idea of trading him. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
um, yeah, I mean, you took the gamble on Justin Fields is looking pretty good so far. If you really want to call it a gamble completely, a little easier to
I
say
don't
in
know.
retrospect
Yeah.
with how he's playing. But another guy that could be in the MVP running is Baker Mayfield, and
Mhm.
he beats down on the Philadelphia Eagles, who, man,
Talk
just
about
have
having a
no
team's
pass
number.
rush. No pass rush. Their secondary, CJ Gardner Johnson says something dumb once a week and then does something dumb kind of more than once a game.
It's a
Darius Slay
six-time
is
Pro
horrible
Bowler. You
now.
watch your mouth.
God, he just he does it to himself.
Yep.
Quinion Mitchell, unsurprisingly, is the best corner they have. Um, Excellent football player. Their linebackers aren't really good besides Zach Bond, and they have no pass rush, which is funny because they traded Hassan Reddick. They had to, but yikes. I mean, this, yeah. AJ Brown's hurt. Devontae Smith is banged up. It's not good in Eagletown. Um, and it's good in Tampa. They're still you kind of feel like they have the Bucks framework, the normal Bucks framework the past few years, but Baker's making big plays.
Yeah,
Baker's
he's been
making big
excellent.
plays. And Mike Evans is remarkably consistent. We've known that for a while. Bucky Irving had a great game.
Chris Godwin's been
Rashad White
excellent.
can be good. Chris Godwin's been excellent. They're just they're not overwhelming or powerful all the time. They just get it done. And they're not perfect. They get it done.
I was just gonna say that this is the game you kind of if you're a Bucks fan or just a football fan that's supporting the Bucks and what Baker's done. This is a game because I think it happened earlier in the year too where they beat up on a team. You're like, all right, maybe this is where the Bucks get rolling here. And then I can't remember. I'm trying to find out who they have this week coming up. The Falcons on Thursday Night Football. Wouldn't surprise me if they throw a stinker out there against the Falcons. I like what the Bucks have done this year, but I feel like they've kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde team where you have this big awesome performance against the Eagles and then you kind of have a letdown in the next week. So I'm curious to see if they can keep it going, keep it together. It was Denver they had the stinker against a couple weeks ago, wasn't it? If I'm trying to remember back, it was
Yes.
it was a
Yes.
bad team they played
Thinking
that they
that.
lost to. It's like,
I was
what?
thinking that
How do you
too.
not beat that team? So I'm with you on the flip side of it. The Eagles, they're trash right now. I think, like we just talked about with Trevor Lawrence, yeah, I think you have to start having a conversation about Jalen Hurts because he has not looked good. And as we talked about leading into the year, I just think Sirianni's an absolute
Yeah,
idiot.
he's
I
so
think he is
stupid.
very close to if he hasn't already lost that locker room. So a coaching change, I feel like is where that team is heading. And like I said earlier in the year, Bill Belichick,
Bill
maybe
Belichick.
you're the Eagles, throw him a bone and see what you can get in Philly. See if you can maybe salvage that season because it is on life support for the Eagles right now.
Yeah, it's very bad. Um, Man, that would suck if Bill ended up in
Really
Philly.
would, but it would make a
Um,
lot of sense with how bad that defense is.
you know who's gonna win the NFC East at this rate? Washington
Washington
Commanders.
Commanders, like everyone predicted at the start of the year.
They drop 42 on the Cardinals, which, isn't crazy. The Cardinals aren't great, but um, it is when you do it in the way you do it because Jaden Daniels didn't throw for 4 touchdowns or anything, but remains incredibly efficient and smart. He can run. We know this. Um, the Cliff Kingsbury, Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels brain trust is working quite well. Brian Robinson Jr. looks awesome too.
Their whole backfields look great. Eckler was good a couple weeks ago. You saw a little bit of burst from him, which you were like, where the hell was that last year? Whoever, this Jeremy McNichols guy is that I didn't even know about until this game or until after this game. Obviously, 2
And
touchdowns from
speaking
him out
about
of
the
the
Eagles,
backfield.
they got 2 picks for John Dotson, who they clearly don't need. The
Yeah.
Commanders,
Yeah, right. But yeah,
they're
I mean,
making it work.
Commanders have been a big surprise. And again, like you said, it falls on Jaden Daniels, how good he's looked. I think broke, what was it? Was it Mac Jones's rookie record for completion
Yeah,
percentage in the first month of the year? So he's
crazy.
obviously been great. And like you said, the score maybe not all that surprising. Like I figured this would have been a little bit more back and forth. Maybe like a 45-42 game because both these defenses aren't that great. The fact that the Commanders, like you said, just absolutely beat up all over the Cardinals, like I think that's
Hmm.
pretty surprising.
Yeah, Frankie Louvu has been a great fit. He had a few nice plays. Doris Armstrong Jr. was a fucking beast in this game. Maybe like an up and comer. Um, Man, like they just have it figured out like really quickly, which is impressive. Um, James Conner was great. Marvin Harrison Jr. Had some nice catches, but it just didn't matter. Like the Cardinals were just beat down in this game. And the Commanders are one of the stories of the league right now. Know what else is a story? Patrick Mahomes injuring his star receiver Rashee
Yep.
Rice. He did that. That's his legacy now. No Super Bowls. Doesn't
That's his
matter.
legacy, killing his
That's his
best receiver.
legacy.
Yep.
Killing his receivers. um,
That's
that
what
was
it took to get
rough.
Travis Kelce back to looking like Travis Kelce, though, was the death of Rashee
Yeah,
Rice.
they were kind of like hoping maybe like, okay, we'll unleash Travis Kelce in the playoffs or later in the season.
Mhm.
Now like, oh shit,
Crap,
now
we
we
got to do it
can't.
week 4. Yeah.
Um, yeah, Xavier Worthy had a touchdown. Kareem Hunt has been nice to have it. They've, been fortunate to have him fill in nicely. Samaje P. Ryan got in the end zone. Um, Chris Jones, Lad McConkey showed up on the other side, but like, I don't know. I don't have a ton on this game. Like
No, this game
Patrick
went about
Mahomes
as
just hasn't impressed me too much this year, to be
no.
honest.
This
And
game
Justin
is just
Herbert didn't, the Chargers didn't do enough to win. So
no.
the Chiefs did enough, the Chargers didn't. So it was one of those games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was just gonna say this game. I feel like kind of went how you figured it would be a low scoring game. Obviously with Harbaugh on one side, Reed on the other. I feel like the Chargers and Chiefs always play pretty close games like this, or back and forth games. So really no surprise there. I feel like we're gonna say the same thing about the Chiefs every week. Like again, now they lose Rashee Rice. Their season, not kind of up in the air because you know what the Chiefs are. But like, there's some questions about this team moving forward. They're gonna be fine. They're the Chiefs. They'll figure out a way. They figure out ways to win these type of games. Um, like I said, we sound like broken records talking about the Chiefs because there really isn't anything to talk about with them. Like as long as they have Mahomes, they're gonna find ways to win games. Kelce, like you said, I was in the same boat. I figured they kind of unleash him late in the year, but gonna have to do it earlier. Xavier Worthy's probably gonna turn into one of the better young receivers in the league now that he's gonna have more of an opportunity. I think Edwards-Helaire might be coming back sooner rather than later, so that's another weapon they can use in the backfield. They'll be fine.
Yeah. They still are missing Pacheco too. Yeah, they're still the Chiefs. We're not gonna act like they're not, but
No.
it's a little rough right now. It's also rough for the Browns who lost to the Raiders. Deshaun Watson was like better decision making wise, but still didn't do anything really that good.
They're so
Um,
boring. Like that's coming
Threw
from
a
a Patriots
touchdown in the
fan. The
pick.
Browns are so freaking boring.
Yeah, I mean they might get Nick Chubb back. I don't think they'll get him this week, soon. But I mean, just listen to Johnny Fanta. Johnny Fanta is the voice of the Cleveland Browns. You know, we should just play Johnny Fanta's rants every time they lose now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I mean, good win if you're the Raiders. It's kind of a
Mhm.
tough week with the whole Devontae Adams stuff with
Yeah, what
the
are your thoughts
Saints
on
and the
that?
Jets.
Any overall where he might go? What do you
He has
think?
to be a Jet.
You think so?
Has to. It's just like Aaron Rodgers will do anything. We've been speculating this for a while,
Hmm.
on and off. Of course, you have the Derek Carr thing too, but I don't know. He's a Jet. He's gonna be a Jet.
All right.
I think. I think
I would
it's
hate that. I would hate my alternative because I said this to you the other day, talking about a different wide receiver, the place for the Browns and Amari Cooper, after his contract was restructured. If you're the Chiefs, why wouldn't you with Devontae Adams? They're the Patriots now. They can just find players, draft capital. I feel like should be nothing to Kansas City if you can make it work with whatever cap space they have or whatever then the money would have to be. If you're them, you're going for history. Your number one receiver right now is Xavier Worthy. Like
That
if
would
I
be
was Kansas
so
City, I'd be all
annoying.
over Devontae Adams. They're probably not going to trade him like I texted you within the division. Because if you're the Raiders, you'd be stupid to do that. But if you're Kansas
Yeah.
City, like second round pick, maybe something else, I would do that, or I would at least entertain it and see what the Raiders say.
Yeah, that is such an unfortunate thing that could even happen. To be
It's a
honest.
bad situation either way. Like it's either the
Yeah.
Chiefs get their way and get a number one receiver again, or a-hole Aaron Rodgers gets his way and gets to re-up with Adams. What was the other one? He said was it the
Yeah.
Saints? Was the other team
Yeah, the
that he said he
Saints.
would? So is the Derek Carr um
Yeah.
connection there. So that would be
Yeah, that'd
best
be
case
nice for the
scenario. Have him
Saints.
go out there. Have him go to New Orleans.
Yeah, I guess so. Ravens can use him, maybe. Ravens beat the Bills 35-10,
Could they
so
use him
we're getting
though? Like,
yes and no, but
mhm.
so this game could have went two ways. The Ravens finding a weird way to lose this game or an annoying way to lose this, or the Bills getting a reality check. And we got the Bills reality check. A big one. Lamar Jackson only threw the ball 18 times, but threw two touchdowns. Ran for a touchdown. Derrick Henry
Right out of the
ran
gate.
like for like 83-yard touchdown right out the gate. He is just so bizarre to watch still. He's been in the league for so long, but when he does stuff like this, I'm like, you have a fucking a super tight end that's an
Mhm.
amazing running back.
Yeah.
Like still, when he's supposed to be falling off, he
It is.
isn't.
It's so weird
Um,
to watch him run in
and then you
open
have little
space like
Justice
that.
Hill,
Like,
little
yeah,
Justice Hill who's so fast. Um, the yin and the yang there. Kyle Van Noy, like,
big
was
game for him.
awesome.
Yep.
Um, gave Bill Belichick some credit this past week. He's still talking about how
Did he
Bill's
really?
helped him. I think he's on like Pat McAfee or something. Yeah, talking about stuff Bill's taught him. Um, so yeah, I mean, the Ravens smacked the Bills in the mouth. Like it's surprising, but not surprising because the Bills do, have weaknesses and they're not gonna steamroll every game. Like maybe they were due for a loss after steamrolling Jacksonville, come back down to earth a little bit, but I don't think anybody expected them to lose by 25.
No, definitely not. Figured this game would be a little bit closer. Like I'm with you. I kind of figured maybe a humbling moment for the Bills here, but definitely not. Again, the game over, one play in with Henry running for whatever you said, 83 or whatever it ended up being,
That
for
was
a
a guess.
touchdown.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
Yeah.
He's so absurd.
Mhm.
Um, his former team won because they played the Dolphins. We talked about this game briefly,
And I
but
don't want to talk about it anymore because it was gross.
no, like
Kudos to Nick Folk for still getting it done. That's my takeaway from this
yeah,
terrible
Mason
football game.
Rudolph football game 31-12. Titans in the football game over the Dolphins. Um, Lions and Seahawks was awesome. Jared Goff threw a perfect game, unless you count the safety. That's kind of a tough look at the end.
Yeah,
They
a little
reviewed.
bit.
18 for 18, 292, and two touchdowns. Had a reception and a little trick play, which I love. I love shit like that. Butter me up, that type of stuff. I love it. Two touchdowns for Jameer Gibbs. David Montgomery gets in and had that one insane run. He is fucking awesome. Oh my God. He's one of my favorite running backs to watch. Amon Ra looks alive. Had a little slow start to the season, I think, for his standards. He got Laporta involved, and Jamison Williams had like the easiest long touchdown I've ever seen.
Mhm.
So the Lions looked like the Lions. We haven't quite seen a game like that this year for them, but they looked very good. Terry Arnold still looks very good, but still be taking penalties. Loves taking penalties.
True. Yep.
Needs to fix that. The defense in general took a lot of penalties. Carlton Davis had like one or two. I think Anzalone had one or two. Like needs to clean it up. Little smash mouth Dan Campbell product, but byproduct. But I mean, Geno Smith was great, almost over 400 yards. DK was incredible, even though he complains about everything still. No matter what happens, I love the guy, but he does complain a fuck ton. The unfortunate thing was at the end, like there's some sort of disconnect with the Seahawks, and Gino was clearly like not ready for the snap, and then
The
just like
snap play. Yep.
tried to find Tyler Lockett on a prayer. That was kind of like an unfortunate way to end like an awesome game, but is what it is.
Hmm.
Essentially end an awesome game, I should say, because I think the safety was after that,
It was,
unless
yeah.
I'm mixing it up.
Yep.
But yeah, like that game was awesome, and thank
That's what
God,
you
because
wish
the Titans game was
all Monday Night Football
terrible.
games were like all the
Yeah, dude,
primetime games you wish were
seriously.
back and forth like that and had something cool like you said, the golf go perfect. Um, the thing for me for the Lions, like if you get this team, because I feel like Sam Laporta really hasn't been himself yet. That's kind of been the one missing link in this offense. Is he's had some good performances, but not anything close to what we saw last year. You get him going, and you get this level of consistency where both running backs are constantly finding the end zone. You're getting obviously production from your two top receivers. If the Lions roll like this, I don't know how anybody stops them at this point. Like they
No.
have one of the best, if not the best, all around offenses in football right now. Um, and again, you factor in the trickery that Dan Campbell loves coming up with. Like they're such an enjoyable football team to watch, and you hope they can continue and have some consistency here because they're gonna go quite a ways if they can get this stuff figured out.
Yeah, this might be the awakening of the Lions for sure. It might be for sure. It's kind of
A
contradictory, but you know what I
little
mean.
bit, yep.
Um, I was prepared. My parlay that night was Jameson Williams plus 250 for some reason. I don't know why his odds were that long to get a touchdown, and Jared Goff 2+ touchdowns. Um, once Amon-Ra threw him the touchdown pass, I was like, I'm gonna lose this parlay because he's gonna throw one touchdown pass,
Because of
and the
cool
other one's gonna
plays.
be a touchdown
Yeah.
pass to him.
Yep.
But no, that didn't happen. Thank God. I want a quick 50 on that. Thank you very much. Week five. Week five, Ryan. Let's start with Bucks and Falcons. This one's pretty clear cut. It is the Bucks. I think they parlay what they did against the Eagles into the Falcons. But it is Thursday. Thursday games can be weird.
Yes, they
I
can.
don't see a scenario where the Falcons go on the road and beat the Bucks. Or never mind.
They're at home.
I mixed them up.
It's okay.
It's really that simple. But either way, I don't see the Falcons winning because I'm not high on them. I shouldn't be high on them in this game when I'm high on the Buccaneers. That's how it works. Bucks win this one.
Fair enough. I'm not going to spoil my other one. I have two very gross picks. This is the first of the two. I am taking the Falcons for the reason that you mentioned that it is Thursday games. Thursday games get a little wonky. And as I said earlier, the Buccaneers had a big win earlier in the year and then proceeded to lay an egg against the Broncos. Very well could see the same thing happening here. Huge win against the Eagles. Uh, Going to Atlanta. Atlanta's not playing terrible football. They're not playing great football. And the Buccaneers, find a way to. I don't want to say find that. I don't want to say find a way to lose this game because I like the Buccaneers. I like what they've done this year. I feel like it would be better to say the Falcons find a way to win this game. I think the Falcons scrap this one together. Buccaneers come out, lay a little bit of a stinker here, and have one of those surprise losses. I just got to see more consistency from Tampa Bay. Like if they roll and win in this one, then I'll believe that they can shake off some of these bad losses. Um, but I'm gonna take the Falcons here again. Like you said, Thursday night football games are a little weird. Um, and the Falcons need another big win to kind of stamp their season.
Yeah, especially with the Saints slipping a little bit
A little
early
bit, yeah.
on after looking like one of the most prolific
That
offenses.
division's wide open outside of the Panthers.
Yes, it is. This game should be awesome from the Vikings standpoint, but it's 9:30 in London.
The London
So
game.
London games are a little weird. I don't know if this one's going to be weird, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the Vikings. Like, why pick the Jets? They just struggled with even in the rain with the
Denver. Yeah.
Broncos. And like Aaron Rodgers is like he's Aaron Rodgers, but like he's slow. He's slow.
He's old.
Slowing down.
He's old and he's cranky.
He's old and he's cranky. He's always been cranky, Ryan. But
That's true.
yeah, there's not a scenario where I'm not even going to analyze this game. There's not a scenario where I'm picking the Jets. It's just not
God
happening.
no. Sam Darnold's revenge game in the best way possible.
There's got to be some like how PFT commentator does like the how are you getting ready for NFL Sunday? I feel like this is going to be his game or NFL Saturday or like London Saturday he'll do.
Yeah.
We'll be like how are you getting ready for London Saturday and he'll make like an Aaron Rodgers and like England joke and it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
That just I'm envisioning that in my head. I can't think of one. I don't have that type of comedic brain power, but yeah, there's no scenario where I'm picking the Jets in this game. It's the Vikings.
Yeah, right there with you.
One of the two remaining undefeated teams. The Chiefs. We'll see if they both remain undefeated. Bills and Texans could be very fun.
I hope so.
I wonder if this is another game where we see one team win in a lopsided fashion, though,
Get
like
humbled.
the Bills
Yeah.
and Ravens. I don't know who, but I'm going with the Bills because I like the Texans. I like them to play better than they did against the Jaguars. And I don't think this is going to be a lopsided game, but I do think the Bills pull it out because they look really good this year despite last week. And I don't know. This might be an overtime game.
Okay. Haven't had a lot of those this year yet, so that'd be interesting.
Like, are we due for one with two good quarterbacks? I think this might be the one this
Yeah, I
week.
wouldn't
I don't
hate
know.
that.
I thought about it briefly earlier. I was like, overtime? I was like, I'll throw it out on the show later.
Okay. All right. I like where your head's at. I'm going with the Bills too. I think, in a prime spot for a bounce back here after getting, like you said, smacked in the mouth against the Ravens. Need to bounce back from the humbling moment here. Texans have had a weird season so far. They're 3-1. Obviously, they play good football, but their defense has not looked great. Struggled, like you said, with the Jaguars last week. Had to, take a last second touchdown to beat that crap bag team. I think it's Buffalo. I think the Texans slip up here and they have a little bit of a humbling moment. Maybe the Bills find a way to win this by a couple of scores. I'm with you, not a huge blowout. But wouldn't surprise me if the Bills, win this by 13, 14 points. And again, the Texans kind of have to take a step back, look in the mirror, and be like, all right, like we need to figure some things out here. Get back in week 6 with whoever they have on the schedule.
Stephon Diggs revenge game.
Perhaps, yep, that's a good call.
Stephon
I'm sure
Diggs
he's thinking
revenge
about it.
game.
He has had
Yeah,
this
he's
game
the
circled for a
vengeful
while.
type.
Yep,
He's the vengeful type.
absolutely.
Dolphins, Patriots. We said Patriots. Panthers, Bears. My heart told me Panthers.
Did it really?
My brain told me Bears.
Okay.
My heart told me Panthers, though. It did. Soldier Field's an advantage. They're coming off a win. The Bears will win this one close.
Yeah, this is going to be a gross. This might be an overtime game for the reasons you don't want an overtime game because both these teams
Tie
struggle.
game?
I hope not.
That would be a funny tie game.
It would be a funny tie game. It'd be a. This is one definitely in the preseason predictions you could look at and kind of. Yeah, we haven't had one in a while, have we?
Last year. Maybe we did the year before. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think we definitely predicted a tie the year before, but I don't know if we got one. Yeah, I'm with you, Bears. I'm just the Panthers have looked good on offense, but there's still some questions on defense. I think the Bears obviously had the better of the two defenses. They feel like they could kind of put out the fire that, no pun intended, with Andy Dalton, obviously with the red hair and everything. Put out the fire that the Panthers have had these last couple of weeks. The Bears find a way to scrape this one out.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Getting corny. That's what happens when we get to late recordings.
Yeah, it's okay. Whatever. Here, Ravens and Bengals. The Bengals don't win this. Sorry, Bengals. They don't win this one.
I don't know how they need to, because I mean, if they
will
don't 1-4, their season's on life support. They absolutely will find a way to lose this game.
They could start this game up 2 touchdowns at halftime and lose. I do not see a scenario where this just feels like no matter what, they will find a way to lose.
Their defense isn't good. Like I could see them getting gouged by Derrick Henry.
Revenge game.
A lot of revenge games on the schedule this week. Good on you for having these in the back of your mind. But
I love revenge games.
Clearly.
Colts and Jaguars. I'm going the Colts because I think the Jaguars are bad at football. The Colts are missing one Anthony Richardson, large individual that they drafted to play quarterback. The Jaguars, no, there's gonna have to be something that fundamentally changes before I pick them to beat pretty much anyone. So I'm picking the Colts for that reason.
Fair enough. I said there were 2 gross games on my card. This is the second of the gross games. The Jaguars got to get a win at some point, and I can't. As much as I don't like them, as much as I'm not impressed by them, and again, as much as I think there needs to be a talk about Trevor Lawrence, they got to figure it out at some point. Colts have question marks, especially if Jonathan Taylor doesn't play. Like if he's obviously questionable going into this game with an ankle injury, Trey Sermon's not the greatest backup on the planet, not bad, but he's no Jonathan Taylor.
They should get Ohio State Trey Sermon to play instead. When Trey Sermon was at his best, he'd probably be better than he is in the NFL.
Probably.
Trey Sermon was good at Ohio State.
But yeah, there's too many questions for me. I don't hate Joe Flacco, but he's no Anthony Richardson when it comes to just the skill set. A little bit different. Jaguars find a way to.
Joe Flacco's gonna be like, oh look, Joe Flacco's back, and he's gonna have one of those games where he plays good.
Fair, yeah, that's a good way. He's at this point in his career one of those quarterbacks that gives you a little bit of a spark. I don't doubt that. But yeah, the Jaguars, as much as I don't like them, as much as I'm with you, I think they're bad at football. I can't see him sitting at 0-5. They'll figure out a way to win this game. And like I said, especially if Jonathan Taylor isn't able to go in this one, because the Colts offense doesn't obviously, run around him, but he is a good starting point for them. And if he's out, that maybe could, mess some things up for them.
Yeah,
Hate the pick
Jonathan
though. I really
Taylor's
do. Like
it. You should.
I feel
You
like I
should
need a
so
shower
bad.
after picking the Jaguars to win this
Yeah.
game. In all
Shower
honesty,
again.
yeah,
Shower again. Browns Commanders, there's no scenario where you should ever pick the Browns in this
no,
game.
nope.
Um, yeah, it's that simple. Raiders and Broncos, this game is unwatchable. I'm going with the Raiders because
This is your tie
like,
game right here. Like,
oh God. Raiders. Let's skip this one.
yep, fair. I'm right
Cardinals
there
and
with you.
49ers. This is another one where like the Cardinals play a team that's better. I can see them starting hot, but they'll lose.
Yep.
They'll make things interesting though. This is just one of those games where it feels like they do that. But it's the 49ers at home.
Same. 49ers starting to roll a little bit. I know the Cardinals probably need this win. Obviously, definitely need a bounce back after a 42-14 drumming. But it's the 49ers at home, like you said. They'll win this game going away.
Yeah, it's not happening for the Cardinals, but they are playing for something. They got their doors blown off.
True.
By the Commanders. So Giants, Seahawks, another one. Like, come on, are we really picking the Giants? Is anyone picking the Giants this
We
game?
made this
No.
mistake a couple weeks ago, though, where there was a lot. There was, I think, week 2 was the one where there were a lot of upsets, and we had all the obvious picks on the card. So it might be running
Feels
into a
so
little bit
long
of
ago.
little bit of a trap here, but I'm right there with you. It's the
No.
Seahawks. I can't pick the Giants, especially if Malik Neighbors is banged up. Like that's a big chunk of their offense gone if he doesn't
Yeah,
play.
no.
I'd like him to play, obviously. That would help my fantasy team a lot. But it's the Seahawks all the way.
Yeah, it is. I just can't pick the Giants.
No.
Sorry. Packers and Rams. Packers sucked at the start of the Vikings game, but they figured it out. They beat the Rams here because the Rams are quite injured.
Yeah, I would have picked the Rams if they were healthier, but it's the Packers for me. Better all around team right now, playing better. Obviously, coming off a loss, like you said, not what you want to see, but they're in a little bit of better shape than the Rams are. So I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Yes, Cowboys and Steelers, two of my least favorite teams. I hope they both lose, but the Cowboys will win somehow, despite the Steelers' best efforts to make this a gross game that they will inevitably, maybe not inevitably, keep close.
Yeah, there was a part of me that wanted to pick the Steelers. It really was because again, this is one of those games.
Cowboys' run defense isn't good.
It really isn't. Yeah, Najee could have a big game. Justin Fields obviously could have
Justin
a big
Fields.
game. Yeah, for sure. But I'm going with the Cowboys as well. It looked like last week they started to figure some things out against it. That's obviously coming against the Giants. Steelers are a much better team. Maybe the Cowboys just ride high off that win and find a way to win this game like 16-13, 16-10, something like gross.
We're
yeah.
loving that score today, 16-13.
Yeah, it's a good score for a lot of crappy matchups, I feel like, this week.
Yes. Yeah, yuck. Chiefs and Saints. This would be such a funny way for the Chiefs to lose their undefeated record because they are better than the Saints, and the Saints went from super high to low, and then beating the Chiefs would be really funny.
Roller coaster ride of a season.
The Chiefs will win at Arrowhead, though. The Saints will not.
Yep, I'm not picking any. I don't care. The Chiefs could lose everybody on offense as long as they still have Patrick Mahomes. I am not betting against the Chiefs. They'll find a way to win this game, or the Saints will find a way to lose this game late. You saw that in the Falcons game. I said it, tweeted it out. Maybe week 5 will be the week we don't have a dumbass defensive back commit a defensive pass interference penalty that cost their team a win. Because that's obviously what happened right before Koo banged home that whatever it was 53-8, whatever, I can't remember how long it was, but people know what happened. They saw the game. Dumb pass interference penalty leads to a loss for the Saints. Could see it happen again because it is the Chiefs. You never know. But I am sticking with Kansas City. I don't care how banged up they are.
Me neither. Bye weeks, Lions, Chargers, Eagles, and Titans.
Gotta win the bye week.
The bye weeks are happening. Gotta win the bye week, but not everybody can, you know?
Correct.
That's it for football. We could have done, glad we didn't do, because of the scheduling stuff, a NHL season preview. That would have been tough. We're doing that next week. But a can of worms has been opened in the yes, locally in the Jeremy Swayman thing. Kim Neely interjected at the press conference and said, if I were him, I would have $64 million reasons to be playing right now.
A lot of reasons. A lot of money.
A lot.
Is it enough,
prompting
though?
Louis Gross to come out and defend his client, dispute some things, lead insiders and fans to believe that Jeremy Swayman might request a trade. Jeremy Swayman entrusted the fact in Cam Neely that he wants to be here. I do not think, if I had to make an educated guess, that Jeremy Swayman wishes to be traded. Um, but things have gotten hairy.
To say the least.
Yes. It is very unfortunate that we're in October and this is not done. Um, we are looking at Eunice Corpusalo starting night one
Someone
and
needs to
potentially
tell him
more.
that. Did
They
not
didn't
know
tell him
that.
that.
That was the icing on the cake the other day when he didn't know he
Brandon
was the
Bussey
starting goalie.
will likely be the backup. Looked good last night. Struggled a couple games ago a little bit. That's okay. It's the preseason. Um, a guy that has been one of the best AHL goalies the last 2 years. So you should have some confidence in Brandon Bussey. It is going to take a while for me to get used to a right-handed catching goalie. It's still very weird.
That's weird.
They claimed Yuri Patera on waivers today, 25-year-old goalie from the Vancouver Canucks, or VCR, as Elliot Friedman uses their abbreviation instead of Van. They claimed him from a VCR. So Yuri
Doesn't sound
Patera is
right.
good enough. People freaked out, some people, as if this is like, hey, he's going to push Bussy down. No, not really.
Let's not lose our minds here. Let's take it
Brendan
easy.
Bussey has to go through waivers, and if Jeremy Swayman is signed, Brendan Bussey will be sent down. If you lose Brendan Bussey, you have Yuri Patera as insurance. It's a free waiver claim that they did for insurance. They also lost Kyle Kaiser to the KHL. So you got options now. You got DiPietro, you got Bussey when you sign Swayman, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. I don't think Casimir Kaskisuo is around anymore, but he might be with Providence now. That I think he got released from his PCO. And you got Patera, so you have options. The fact of the matter is that I am on the side of I don't know if Louis Gross told Jeremy Swayman everything he should have told Jeremy Swayman about contract offers because he's done this in the past with William Nylander. As we all know now, anybody that's paying attention.
So what do you
I
make
am
of the
upset that it even got to this point where we have to worry about a trade request.
So I was going to ask you, so what do you make then? Because we obviously talked about this when it came out, but didn't really touch on the actual numbers or the reported numbers that came out of the 7.8 that he was offered over the 8 years.
Yes.
So what do you, does that change your opinion on anything? Because like, or how much of that do you believe? Like, where are you kind of at with that number being out?
Yeah,
That
like
report being out there?
so Friedman mentioned 60 to 62 as well, where he was getting the sense it was at. 7.8 is like I don't know. I don't is that 62.4 if I had to guess? Um
8
so
62.4.
I have a very hard time believing Cam Neely would be like 64 million and lie. Like what does he gain from lying? I think that would like violate the CBA in some way as
You would
well,
think,
which
yeah.
um
Can't imagine you can have guys lying about contracts on
maybe it
there. That
was
wouldn't be
just
good.
like 60 maybe he knew the 7.8 was like 64 just rolls off the tongue better. Let's round up to 63 than an extra million for some reason. Um or that would be round down if it's 62.4, right? Yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe he
Yeah.
just went with a ballpark number. Um look, it's hard to say like the agent didn't tell Swayman something. But with the reputation, it makes it a little easier to stomach the idea of it. Like, why has this even gone to the point where we have to worry about a trade request? Uh, that's up to Don Sweeney and Jeremy Swayman. But the thing I wonder on Swayman's part too, he shouldn't be absolved of this completely. Um, I wonder how much the setting the market thing has gotten in his head. Because I think to some
A
extent at this
lot.
point, it's a little too much.
Yep.
Sure, would he like to get more than $8 million to help the market? Absolutely. Um, there aren't a ton of goalies that make over $8 million. Jeremy Swayman has never been a full-time starter.
That's where I'm
He
at.
has earned quite a bit of respect with how he's played and how he played in the playoffs. But there has to be a point, you hope, where he's like, okay, is an extra $500K a year worth sitting out, fucking up my trade value, being hard to trade for because I'm not playing, and then having to have my new team negotiate this deal with me as well? Does he want to do that? Look what William Nylander said after he sat out a bunch of the season. Did he enjoy that? No. He said publicly he regretted it. And when this type of thing happened, he was kind of like, okay, let's speed this up. Like he got to a point where he's like, we got to do this.
Enough is
You hope
enough. Yeah.
Swayman is doing that. I am going to be like probably physically ill if he requests a trade. Not only because it would be inconvenient and it would suck to trade Omar as necessary as it was,
You're
and then
fucked if that
fuck
happens.
this up,
Yep.
going from a strength of having one goalie in the past, like a Tuukka Rask, like a Tim Thomas. Yara Halak had moments with, Tuukka as well.
Yep.
Just to name a few, to having none
Godobin
when you
is another
have
one.
an elite goalie coach that can help them continue to get better and hopefully turn Corpusalo around. We saw what he did when Corpusalo was in LA briefly and Bob Essenza was working with him. Corpusalo had some of his best numbers. Maybe that can happen here. To get to this point and lead to a trade request would be vomit inducing almost. And I'm exaggerating, but like to bundle this so badly would put the seat hotter than it's ever been for Don Sweeney. If they fuck this up, whether it takes them months to trade Swayman, they do it pretty quickly, or they ownership says fuck him and says, you can just sit out the whole year. If they underachieve, Don Sweeney and Cam Neely have to be gone.
I was just gonna
If
say
it
that if
gets
you
that
fuck it,
bad,
if you fuck this up, the only saving
they
grace
have
is
to be.
you better win the cup, because if you don't, you blow everybody out.
And guess what? If you don't have Jeremy Swayman, unless you get a great goalie back somehow in a trade,
Which you're
you
not.
aren't winning the Stanley
No.
Cup.
Nope.
You probably aren't winning the
You're not winning
first
it
round.
now.
You aren't guaranteed to make the playoffs, which the Jacobs family will hate.
Gotta get those playoff tickets, as you told me before, that playoff revenue.
That's what they want.
Yep.
They need to get this done. I still am in the camp they will get this done. At this point, I just don't fucking know. Because my whole thing was they're going to get this done before training camp, and we're well into training camp, and it's not done. So I don't know anymore.
Less than a week away.
I don't know anymore. I've heard encouraging things over the few months. Those encouraging things haven't led to good things. Unfortunately, that happens sometimes. Very unfortunately, in this case in particular, that is where we're at, where we might get the verdict on what him and Gross want to do tomorrow or Friday or next week.
I'm gonna
The
lean
Bruins
towards
might
next
be
week the way
fine.
this is going. Is it crazy for me to say that I'm starting to hate both parties involved in this for the reasons that you meant? Like,
No.
I don't know who to believe anymore with this, because like you've told it to me numerous times. I've seen it numerous times that everyone has said that Swayman wants to be here. He loves being here. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, you like to see that. But then you read, I lean towards who's disappointed. Like the statement that Gross put out, where it ends off with, we're extremely disappointed. This is not fair to Jeremy. We'll take a few days to discuss where we go from here. And when I saw that, I texted you. I'm like, that to me screams like we're going to consider a trade request here, because this is ridiculous. I don't know who to believe. Who's disappointed? Is Swayman disappointed for this? Is Gross disappointed? Because like the way, again, you hear about how Swayman wants to be here. So yeah, so that is more so on the agent.
Swayman partially probably is like, damn, like that's kind of crazy that that happened. But like, as far as we know, he still wants to be here. So maybe he's like in the back of his mind, like he'll be like, when they sit down, he'll be like, all right, like, can we just get this done?
Let's get this over with.
Like,
okay.
So I just want to play. He's already gonna miss time. Like he's
not gonna be ready to go when the season's. You got to think that like it's gonna take a couple of weeks for him to get up to speed. The reason why I say I'm tired of both sides of this, because a couple of things you mentioned, like the Bruins have royally screwed this up already. You don't, again, people will argue you had to trade Olmark at the time you did to get the most value. I was on the side of you don't move him until you figured this out with Swayman. So now you've kind of handcuffed yourself and you've given all the leverage to Swayman of not having Omar here anymore. And as you mentioned earlier, we were texting about this when this came out. On the Swayman side of it, my argument is who the hell do you think you are? Like you've been a good hawk, and again, maybe this isn't him. This is maybe more the agent asking for this type of money. But I'll take it at the face value of, like you said earlier, Swayman. You had one good playoff run. You've been a platoon goalie your whole career. We think you're going to be good. But you've proven nothing in this league to reset the goalie market and be one of the highest paid goalies in this league outside of, again, one good season where I think I heard Felger say it today. You finished, what, 7th in the Vezina last year? So, like, that's good, but it's not great. Like, that's not a massive, the money he's asking for type of thing. So, like, both parties here are equally annoying in a sense of you need to figure out what the hell you're doing here. And
that goes into, like, my whole, like, resetting the market thing. Like,
mm-hmm.
I think he might have been too caught up in that
brainwashed into that. Yeah.
Like $8 million is still going to help goalies.
Absolutely.
7.5 would even help goalies. Sure, is it more than Sorokin? No. Is it more than Shesterkin's going to get, who the Rangers are prepared to pay $10.5 million or more? That's going to be the deal that resets the goalie market.
You also got to want, is he
Swayman
like
can't reset the goalie market at this point because Shesterkin could get $2.5 million more a year. Like,
you also not
it
but
is
also
reasonable to be upset with Swayman. I do think that's reasonable.
Okay, like the way I look at it too is like, yeah, obviously players want to get paid the most they think that they're worth and everything, but like Swayman too, these guys you're mentioning, these names you're mentioning, like Swayman's a good goalie, but he's not up there again with those pedigree guys. At least in my opinion, like he can maybe get there, but where he is right now in his career, like he's not worth the astronomical contract that he thinks he's, or maybe whether it's him, whether it's his agent, whatever that he wants to get. And again, like you said, with the resetting the market and everything, like I'm not optimistic about this either. Like if I had to lean towards one thing, you said it's a vomit-inducing situation. I am leaning towards the sense of a trade request is coming here. Like if you read into it, maybe like I too much am about the extremely disappointed, and we'll reassess in a couple of days, or we'll take a couple of days to discuss where we go from here. Like that last line to me hammers home so much. Like we are strongly considering looking elsewhere because it just doesn't seem like it's going to work out here.
Yeah. When it first came out, I was talking myself more into the trade request, but with how Swayman is as a goalie and like that psycho aspect and wanting to be here, I do think they're gonna just get it done. And I think if I had to guess, it's gonna come over what like the Bruins are gonna have to pay him like 8.25.
Okay.
Or even if it's like 8.1, just so he gets over the 8. Because Brian DeFelice of WEI Skate Pod and Puck Ups said today, per Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, his opinion, Boston had 8 points, 8 times 7.5 pre-Neely comments, now 8 by 8. Boston started at 4 by 6.25, the Chicklets report, then 8.8 by 6.5. Swayman started at 8 by 9.5, the Chicklets report, now 8 by 9 or high 8s, still apart by around 1 million, and not sure how talks resume after a couple day cool off. I want to know the exact number right now where they're at. So bad. Because
you'll ever get that though, that's the thing.
We won't.
Unless Cam Neely just comes out and says it.
Like at this point, dude, like if you're Don Sweeney and you're like 250K off and you're like holding sperm on that at this point, that's just unacceptable.
It's a bit egregious, yeah.
Like the 9 million, absolutely hold your ground on not wanting to pay that. Abso-fucking-lutely hold your ground. That's too much. 8 is not.
No.
8 is uncomfortable and you'd like to pay less. It's not too much. And if he plays the way he's going to play, it will be a steal in a few years. Because
Igor Shesterkin
sets the top goalie market at 10.5. This needs to get done. You can't and sure, they can decide to not honor the trade request. That's a possibility, but that's just like you got to trade him if you request a trade. You have to get the value.
Absolutely.
Because the value will be hurt. but you
It's
have
only
to
gonna
get the
go
value.
down too.
You'll still get a lot for Swayman. And if you request a trade, I'll talk more about like who they could get, who they could trade with. I'm not going to do that right now. There's also the scenario. Luz Gross goes, "Hey, like let's request a trade," and Swayman says no.
Get bent.
Swayman has to give the final say.
Yeah.
So there could be this trade request talk, and Swayman's like no.
Which is
So
why too, like that kind of still worries me about like what like again, like I don't disagree that Swayman wants to be here, but like to me again, if he wants to be here so badly, and like I texted you this the other day, this agent has had problems in the past of not, uh disclosing the amount of money that he was actually offered or whatever. Like at what point does Swayman step in here and say, what the fuck are we doing? Can we just get this done? Like that the fact that that hasn't happened yet to me kind of makes me weary again on if Swayman actually wants to be here or not. Because like you would think if he was
it's very fair.
so desired to want to be here, he'd be like, hey, whatever the number is, if it's close enough to what we were asking for, just give me the thing to sign so we can be done with this. I want to play here. I want to get ready for the season. Because again, the longer this goes, the longer he's going to sit out, the longer he's going to be behind the eight ball, and then God forbid he comes out and does get a contract and then struggles. Then the fan base might turn on him, or you're going to have questions of should you have given Swayman that deal? And all that crap you don't have to deal with or shouldn't have to deal with is going to rear its ugly head at some point.
Yeah, and like with the 8.25 stuff too, I wonder if he just wants more than Sorokin. Maybe that's how he feels the resetting the goalie market thing is. Because he has to know at the back of his mind he's not going to get Shesterkin money because he's
No,
going to
God,
get
no.
10.5 million. But like maybe he just wants more than Sorokin. Maybe it's 8.3 that gets it done. Maybe 8.5 is the sweet spot. I don't know. I'm gonna lean towards at max he gets the Sorokin deal and gets 8.25 a year.
Okay.
That's the max. It would be classic if we just landed on 8.8 at the end of the day. And if they somehow got under 8, Sweeney would be doing cartwheels to save that extra like 200K a year he could save.
Yeah, right.
In that event. Because it's not getting under like 7.75. That would be crazy at this rate. It's funky right now, man. It's funky situation.
It's not a good one.
It's not good, but they have insurance, a little extra insurance now, as we talked about Patera. Good to see a nice outing from Bussy last night as well. They did, on a better note, start extension talks with Marchand, Frederick, and Geeky. Marchand left the game last night with an illness, so luckily it was nothing relating to his surgeries. Hopefully he's good now, or good soon. Don't know what the illness is. But yeah, extension talks. I mean, we'll talk more about that as news comes out. Nothing to really report right now. Just they're starting the groundwork, which is funny because Marchand was like a couple weeks ago, like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about contract stuff, and then it comes out that he's doing extension talks. So that's not on him, but it's just funny. The timing. And all the best to Sofia Jurkovic. She's taking some time away from work. That was a bummer to see yesterday. I don't exaggerate when I say this. I think she's one of the best, if not the best, at her job in all sports. So,
I praise.
yeah, I hope she's better
very
soon
good
because she's very, very good, and she came from a great Sportsnet background where she was also very good, from what I hear from people up in Canada. So, all the best to her because that was a bummer to see. Hopefully, she won't be gone long, and she fixes that, whatever's going on in her life and what she needs to take care of. So, any closing Bruins thoughts from you? Season preview next week.
Not to be negative, but just the send it back to Swayman. Like, yeah, you like a Marchand extension, like a Frederick extension. Nothing against Morgan or against Geeky. But like, focus on the priority. Focus on extending Sway or getting Swayman's deal done. Then you can worry about an extension for a guy like Geeky. Like that shouldn't be a top priority right now. Not to say that it is. But if you're gonna put all your eggs in one basket and put all your focus towards something, get the friggin' Swayman deal done, and then do whatever stupid extension you want to have with Geeky that can come further down the line.
Right. Agreed. Frederick would be an interesting one too.
I'd like Marchand to not that I have a problem with it, but like Marchand, I feel like would be the type of guy to be like, hold off on me. Like, get the goalie done first, and then we can worry about me and anybody else you want to.
Can I throw a breadcrumb out there too?
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's too early for this. I wonder if Marchand's going to do what Bergeron did later in his career.
Year to year.
1 million, take like 1 million and a bunch of bonuses to help the team out.
Could see that. Absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe it's too early for that. Maybe a couple years down the road, maybe a year down the road. Because they're probably going to do 1-year deals at this point, maybe 2.
You would think, yeah.
Also, on the negative side, can we call Lysol and Merkulov back up and give him one more chance
Yeah,
or two
you
before
like
the
that? Mm-hmm.
I hated that so much. Thank God they were like, okay, like it's not over yet, guys. Like we can still call him up. Please do.
Yeah.
I would like to see Fabian Lysell start the season with the team regardless. Just
I
please.
think
Please
was
do
it
this for me. Tyler Johnson, though, scored last night, probably is gonna make his way into getting a contract here regardless. Cole Kepke's up looking good. Shout out to Cole Kepke. I liked him in college. Would be cool if he made the team. Yeah, can we see Lysell? Like Merkulov had a nice little reverse pass too. Like maybe one of them makes the team. I don't know. Come on,
it
guys.
was,
Like
I found it.
I like Morgan Geeky, but
I was gonna say
I like Fabian Lysell too.
friend of the program, Spencer Forsetta, had the best tweet I saw about this the other night, where he said,
Oh
"Sure, the young guys have warts, but did you know Tyler Johnson won a cup 4 years ago and Patrick Brown played at BC?" Perfect tweet to
yeah,
summarize up
yeah.
that situation.
Patrick Brown won't stick around, but he'll go down. But yeah,
It's like
Spencer
it's
in
just building frustration towards the front office group, like the Swayman
Spencer's
stuff,
not the
obviously.
biggest Don Sweeney guy, so
Right?
he's in a fine headspace with that joke there, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Fair.
Um,
I saw that. I'm like, that's perfect. Perfect summarize. Because again, we're both in agreement. We'd like to see the young guys play over some of these older guys that have had their, kick at the can and had their time in the sun. For all
yeah,
the
like Fabian
cliches,
Lysell.
like
He sniped one like a week ago. That was cool. Let's see if he can do that for the hockey team.
yeah.
Um, Positive note: Dean Letourneau, Oscar Yelvy, Andre Gasso, Bruins line at BC at practice today. Pretty cool. Maybe we'll
Cool.
see him play a little bit this year together. Positive note to end a shitty Bruins segment with bad
Back to the
news.
negative.
Back to the negative. The Red Sox have gone 81 and 81.
With a very very mid.
I
Did you
was
pick that?
excited. I was excited because I misremembered the fact that I said 82, 80 and 82.
Oh, did you see? I couldn't remember if you said
I
80 and
said
82 or 81 and 81.
my official prediction was 78 and 84.
So why did I think? Did I have 80 and 82?
You had
Somebody
like
had 80 and 82.
74 or
I was on, yeah, I
75.
was way, that's right. I was way under because I had the under on their win total for the year. So maybe we had 80 and 82 last year as one of our predictions. And,
Must have.
we're a year
Must
too
have.
early. Yeah, but I mean, they ended the most average baseball season you could possibly think of, 81 and 81. I think they were pretty close to the same run differential and all those fun stats. We're not good at home. We're good on the road, so those evened out in the end. And on Monday they had their media day at the end. Sam Kennedy, Craig Breslow, Alex Cora met with the media, gave their same vague BS. I mean, had their end of 2024 season talk, what to look forward to in 2025. Not a lot. That's all that's surprising to take away from this. A couple of the comments I saw across Twitter. Boston Sports Gordo had this wrap up of saying, quote, Sam Kennedy wouldn't tip his hand on the 2025 payroll in the year-end press conference. Similarly, Craig Breslow and company were pretty purposely non-committal about adding a frontline starting pitcher, referencing the step forwards guys have taken, our in-house have taken. Depth will be the focus. And then Chris Cotillo had the best back and forth of the afternoon with Sam Kennedy. Asked him, if the goalposts had been moved on what a successful season is here, and Sam Kennedy kind of looked at him and was like, "No, like we're still all about like winning and playing, baseball in October." To that, I say that's a load of crap. They 100% have moved the goalpost because I missed it. I had to go back and find it. I don't know. I can't imagine you saw it either. But when they were eliminated, I think it was Alex Cora, Craig Breslow might have said it too, but they talked about like, oh, we had improvements this year. We took some steps forward this year. During the eliminated press conference, talking about how you are not making the playoffs this year. Once again, cool. You were 3 games better than you were last year. You didn't come in last place for the first time in 2 or 3 years. Congratulations. You guys had your improvements. You had some young guys step up and play well, who then faltered down the stretch when games got important. And then the other comment too on that, the quote that I read, of course they were non-committal about adding a frontline talent and frontline starting pitching, and focusing more on depth. And to that I say the reason is because they think this team has that frontline talent. And Tanner Houck had a good season. Brian Bayo figured some things out late in the year. Cutter Crawford turned into a batting practice pitcher at times this season. Probably led the league in home runs if I had to guess. I don't have those numbers ahead of me. But that's the problem with this Red Sox team right now is yeah, these guys had some nice improvements, but This is a team of depth players and depth pieces until they realize that they are not the frontline team that they think they are and actually have to add those pieces like a Corbin Burns who might become available if Baltimore doesn't he doesn't resign in Baltimore. Maybe like a Garrett Crochet because the White Sox announced I think either today or yesterday that they are basically 100% trading him this offseason. So that's a guy maybe you could bring in. What? Are you laughing at my hopes and I'm not saying they're going to bring these guys
Crawford allowed 34 home runs. The next highest was 31.
Yeah, so he led the league.
Jose Barrios at 31, Griffin Canning, and Carlos Rodon.
Wow, Barrios was 2. That's surprising.
Austin Gomber was at 30. The next one is Aaron Nola led up 30 home runs this year.
That's surprising. On the home run topic, now that I just thought about it, so cool. You had the guy that allowed the most home runs this year in baseball. Do you know who allowed the most home runs in baseball 2 years ago? Who the Red Sox will be most likely getting back next season as maybe their frontline pitcher that they think they have? Think really hard. They didn't have him this year. Got hurt in spring training. Was supposed to be their ace this year.
For sale.
No.
What? What are you talking about? I don't know.
Former White Sox, if that helps. You're on the right track with the White Sox and Chris Sale. White Sox started that the Red Sox got this offseason to be a frontline starting pitcher.
I don't even know, dude.
Lucas Giolito. I think gave up like 42 home runs last year or something ridiculous. Led the league.
Truly have not
forgot that he was even on the team. It's okay.
Has
not
not
a lot
crossed
of people
my
have.
mind. Has
Fair
not
enough.
crossed my mind since April.
Did get hurt earlier in spring training, so that's not. Or he did get. I think it was late in spring training.
That felt
Regardless,
stupid saying Chris Sale, but like you said, frontline starter. I was like, did Chris Sale have the most home runs? Like, what?
well,
I don't remember that.
In your defense, Lucas Giolito to the normal baseball minds is not anymore a frontline starter, but to the Red Sox, they think he is. And again,
yeah,
that's why.
Not mine. Oh,
I know.
Great.
I put you in the bad spot there. I apologize. But yeah, that's the problem with this team right now is they think they have these pieces, and again, maybe some of these young guys will bloom into that. But look at like watching postseason baseball the last couple of days. Look at what the Kansas City Royals have done this year into the playoffs. Look at what the Tigers did. They have this young talent, but they were smart enough to know, hey, we got to add a couple of veteran guys. The Royals go out and get a Seth Lugo to help bolster the rotation, help put some of these younger guys in their positions.
Michael Wacha.
Michael Walker's another one. Good call. Hunter Renfroe didn't have a great year, but again, a veteran piece that you can add to a young team that's going to help you win some games and get to the playoffs. Like, that is the team you should be looking at if you're the Red Sox, saying, the Royals, they stunk for a lot of years. They were able to build up their young talent on this team, called a lot of these guys up.
They got in when Bobby Witt had an insane season, kind of what they've been hoping for, like the payoff of Bobby Witt being.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you have the young star pieces in place. The Royals have Bobby Witt. The Red Sox obviously have Devers, have had Duran step up this year. Casas, we expect him to be, not maybe on the level of Bobby Witt Jr., but a good solid young piece that you can build around. So you have those young pieces. If you're the Red Sox, like, you have to this be the year. Go out and kind of add to that. And I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to spew the same bullshit. Alex Cora, did say this is going to be the year, to go in. This is going to be a fun offseason, whatever he said. I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe any of this. It's the same.
Either. He can only say so much. Like,
exactly.
They're not going to listen to him every time he says something like, hey, like, oh, like, well, I hope we do this. Like, hope we do that. Like, want to do this. We want that. That doesn't mean they're going to okay, Alex.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I appreciate Alex Cora saying stuff, and
I appreciate you trying to change the minds of the other, but
this isn't like a goof on Alex Cora from me. Like, I appreciate when he says things like these, or directly throw shots, because they, he needs to sometimes, but like, it's not guaranteed to work, and they control the spending.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. My thing is Corbin Burns. Just if you don't sign Corbin Burns, I don't care.
You're probably not going to care at all. In all honesty, to put it, yeah.
I really don't have faith they're going to sign Blake Snell.
And that's the thing too. Like, this year's pitching market, like last year was the year. I saw Maz said this the other day. I think it was Maz.
Also, it was pitching market. The Diamondbacks just calling the fuck out of Jordan Montgomery was crazy.
Right? Yeah. Maybe he becomes available. Maybe you can trade for him because
can he just opt? Can he just be like, fuck you guys? Like, terminate my contract?
That's what it is you're not going to be able to trade for him because he's going, or maybe you will, because he's definitely going to opt into that $8 million option he has now just out of spite to be like, F you, you don't want me here, too bad.
He should.
That was wild. I've never seen any as dumb as the Red Sox ownership and GM group is. Like that was idiotic by the Diamondbacks to come out and say that. Like somebody should be getting fired for that comment. But that's the thing too. Like the pitching market this year, what I was saying is I saw Matt say this the other day. Like last year was the year to go all in to get your depth pitching because there was a lot of it last year and there was a lot of decent arms out there. Now some of them, like a Montgomery, didn't pan out, obviously. But this year, I don't think the market. I think it's going to be Burns. It's going to be Snell because I think he's going to opt out of his contract with the Giants. Other than that, I couldn't tell. Like, I don't. Max Fried might become available. I don't like know the big names. Again, that
Oh,
old Red Sox. That would be a name you kind of look at and be like, okay, maybe that's a guy you go after. But
I saw something that the team that I think it was the Diamondbacks scored the most runs. They didn't get in, and I think the Mariners let up the least runs and they didn't
yep.
get in. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. The Mariners had, I think, the best rotation in baseball from a statistical standpoint, and like one of the worst offenses. So that did not balance out well at all for them.
I saw them
Um,
thrown out as a Bregman spot.
Interesting. That would
Hmm.
kind of suck if you're an Astros fan. He goes to a division rival.
Hmm.
I can't imagine he
Hmm.
would get a warm welcome there, but that's
Hmm.
interesting. I'm sure there are still crazy people that think he would be a good fit with the Red Sox, which he probably would be a good fit. But again, that's not a guy that fits any
No,
position need that they have, and
that would
probably not a
be
guy they're
that
looking
would
at.
be fitting if that's what they did, though. Wouldn't it be?
Yeah, it would. I
Like,
mean,
look, we
hey, we need
spent.
pitching help. Let's go out and get some offense. Like, wait a
Let's
minute.
go sign Alex Bregman for 200 million. Apparently, he wants.
Yeah, no way. That's insane.
Oh
Good
God,
player, but
no,
you're
thank you.
not at this point in your career.
No,
$200 million. No
no,
thanks.
that's something like the Angels would do.
They did it with, I mean, a different time. He was younger, but they did it with
Rendon,
Anthony Rendon. Did it with
yes.
Pujols, and that didn't work out well either. But yeah, like that was the big takeaway for me this week is the Red Sox trying to lie to you and say that they haven't moved the goalpost. Meanwhile, 2 weeks ago, again, they were celebrating being eliminated from the playoffs, but hey, yeah, we didn't finish in last place. Like, good for us. We had young guys step up, which you're supposed to in the season, any season. Doesn't matter where you finish. Like, you would like your young guys to go off, and develop as they should. So whoopee, we finished in third, and we're 3 games better than we were last year instead of back to the Caleb Williams. Woohoo! Like that's
Yeah, I was
what
gonna say, someone do the Caleb Williams
perfect summary for the
celebration.
Red Sox. Yeah, great.
Yippity doo dah.
There was something else I saw. I think Chris Cotillo had it earlier. They were trying to defend. I'm trying to find the tweet. Because John Henry came under fire and the Red Sox. Yeah, this was a tweet from Chris Cotillo 3 hours ago. He said, "This is the most insane, consistent Fenway Sports Group company line of all time. John Henry, who doesn't speak to anyone and is never seen, is upset. People who don't get to speak to him believe he's not actively involved." And this was from a quote tweet of Sam Kennedy on John Henry on Fenway Rundown. The quote was, "There is a perception of John, largely driven by people who aren't dealing with him, who don't talk to him regularly, that somehow he is not actively involved." Just keep lying. John Henry, he's a big talker. He loves talking to the media, loves
John
coming
Henry
out,
didn't
and
show up to Joe Castiglione's last game.
that was the other thing I was going
Joe
to end on
Castiglione's been
is
around for 42
like
years or
four
something,
decades. Yeah, yep.
which
One of the
sucks
best in
that
the
he's
business, one of the
gone, by
most
the
well
way.
respected in the business. And
But
John
like,
Henry
had to
couldn't even
happen.
bother.
He wasn't gonna stick around in the booth forever, but like
No,
his whole thing with Pedro and like on the field, like Pedro talking about how much he appreciates and loves Joe was awesome.
kind of passing
The
the torch on the
best.
broadcast was cool. I think it was
Another
Sean
one of
McDonough.
the another one of the great voices. It's like Sean McDonough and Wolf Fleming now, I think.
Yep.
I don't even know how much McDonough did this year. I don't listen to the radio broadcast that much anymore. No offense to Joe, of course, legend. Just another one like out of the booth. Jack's no longer there. Don Orsillo's been gone forever. Like, man, it sucks.
I tuned.
Mike
Yeah.
Gorman's
Yep.
done. Gil Santos passed away like years ago.
A while
Man,
ago.
like
Yeah.
fuck.
I did tune
All
into
the
the Bruins
voices we
game
grew
last
up
night,
on. All the
and
voices.
hearing Judd Surratt on the play-by-play call for the TV was very weird. I'm
It
like, this does not
sucks.
sound right at all. Like,
It sucks.
nothing against him. Not a huge fan of him on the radio. Like, I would have liked to have
He's a
seen Ryan
radio guy.
Johnson.
It doesn't feel right
Yeah,
at all.
I would have liked to have seen Ryan Johnson and him kind of flip. Keep Judd on the
Yes,
radio.
Ryan
Have Ryan
Johnson would have
Johnson
been
as the
fantastic
main.
on
Yeah.
TV.
Yep. But it is
Yeah,
what it
but
is.
anything to say on Joe? It's like
No, that's what you
the
said.
Red
Absolute
Sox
legend.
voice
Like,
besides
yeah.
Don.
Yep.
Like he's what I think about when I think about the Red Sox. Joe's iconic radio voice, the absolute
Absolutely.
beast for so long. What a
Yep.
legend.
Yep. But yeah, I mean that's where the Red Sox were at. Just some kind of takeaways to end the season there. Not going to do a whole postseason bracket breakdown as we kind of have gone on with the show here. Some teams are clinching, some teams are moving on. The Tigers surprisingly swept the Astros out of the playoffs. So if you're a Yankees fan or the Yankees player, you're probably celebrating like you won the World Series. Because your boogeyman is now gone from the playoffs, and Baltimore surprisingly once again swept out of the playoffs as well. I have to change my pick because I originally had the Phillies over the Orioles in 6 games. I am switching that to Phillies and Yankees. And before I forget, there is one, as my friend likes to say, Mike, who listens to the show, a fucked stat he gave me. Do you know this is the first time since our freshman year of college that the Astros are not in the American League Championship Series? I could not believe
Yes.
that when he sent that to me. Like, I figured there was like 1 year in there where maybe they got bounced in the division series. Nope, they were the cream
Nope.
of the crop when it comes to the American League for quite some time. And like
Yeah,
I
they
said, very
were.
surprising for the first time since 2017 that they are not in the ALCS. But yeah, I'm going Phillies over Yankees.
Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, I was talking about this with a guy at work earlier. It's like, yeah, you like to see the Astros get bounced in the playoffs, but do you really? Like anytime the Astros and Yankees were in the playoffs, you kind of knew how that series was going to go. Now that they're gone, like the Yankees are kind of sitting pretty. Maybe with your prediction, that I think there's some hope there. But yeah, like I said, going with the Phillies over the Yankees, a rematch. I think of that 2000 and I want to say 9 World Series. And hopefully a little bit of a different outcome because obviously we
Yes.
know the Yankees. That was the last time they sniffed the World Series and won it. So
Yes. They will not win the World Series this year. Spoiler, the Dodgers will. The Dodgers will be beating the Guardians, which means the Guardians won't get there. Because I predicted them to. I have a feeling about the Guardians, though. I
okay, what's
do.
your feeling?
Um, I don't think. I don't know. I just feel it.
Okay.
It's it's just one of those things. The Dodgers are gonna win. They're gonna find a way to. Of course, they have Shohei. Like they're just stacked. This is just. It's too storybook. I've been on the Dodgers to win all year. Chalk. I'm sticking with it. Dodgers over Guardians in 6.
All right. The Dodgers for you, Phillies for me. I mean, either way, I think the National League is getting the World Series winner this year. Like, I know the Tigers and Royals have been a nice story, um, but
I
like their
agree.
luck, I
On
think,
that note,
has
by
to
the
run
way.
out at some point. Like the Guardians, I don't know if they have the offense. Like their bullpen was phenomenal, and that obviously tends to reign true and help you a lot in the playoffs. But like their offense is spotty at times. So while I'd like to see them get to the World Series because it obviously means the Yankees won't get there. I just don't know, if they can sustain, if they go into a little bit of a
It
slump
just
here.
feels right. If they play the Yankees, they shouldn't beat the Yankees. They find a way to beat the Yankees. It just feels right.
I
Feels
like where your
right.
head's at.
Feels right to me. It
Yep.
does. It does.
We shall see.
We
I
shall
think
see
I think it's
that we
what
shall.
the Royals have the Yankees, or I can't remember how it goes now. I think the Yankees are getting one of the Tigers or the Royals. I'll have to try to look it up really quick here to see um, who they have. The Mets are most likely moving on. I think. Oh no, they're tied with the Brewers now, so that series might go to a decisive third game if the Brewers can find a way to win. Padres are most likely moving on. They're up 5-2 right now on the Braves and up 1 game to none in that series. Um, so yeah, I think it's Royals and Yankees for yep. It's Tigers and Guardians, so an American League Central matchup on Saturday, game one there, and then the Royals and the Yankees. I would love the Royals to knock off the Yankees. That would be so funny.
Yeah. Imagine Guardians, Royals, ALCS.
Ugh, it'd be horrible for viewership numbers, but oh, that'd be awesome. Not to have to watch the Yankees in any sort of championship potential. They can go
Yeah.
celebrate the division title like they were
See,
doing.
it's the
The fans are losing
best
their
because
minds.
it's the best because they won't win the World Series, and if they get far, like if they get to a championship series, like seeing them lose there,
Mhm.
they'll lose at some point. It'll be glorious. They'll get far and it'll suck, but they'll lose and it'll be
Yep.
glorious. That's the saving grace because they won't win. They
Mhm.
won't win until they win. Sorry, guys. That's
That's
analysis.
that's how it
That's
goes. Yeah,
science.
that's usually how that works.
Um, yeah. So you're just gonna have to deal with it. Sorry, Yankees fans. That is gonna wrap it up for a delayed but complete episode of Sound Cratty. Thank you so much for listening. Episode 209, NHL season preview and more next week. Thank you so much for listening. I just said that twice. The wheels are
Very
falling off a little
appreciative.
bit. Very appreciative. Hope you stuck with us. We had to take a couple weeks off, unfortunately. You can find us on Twitter at Mike_Cratty, at Ryan_Salvaggio, and the show at Sound Cratty Pod. Um, You can find us on TikTok, throw Salvaggio and Cratty into the search bar. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Twitch, Podbean, Podchaser. Some platforms for live streaming and distribution after the fact might be a little goofed. Might be off Twitch for like a week or two still, but yeah, once everything gets sorted out with fully with Zoom and streaming, we'll be back on the normal platforms. So if any big updates come there, we'll keep you posted. Yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, be nice people, all that good stuff. Hockey season is coming, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace out.